Hey, let's start the show.
It's June 25th, 2015. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith.
Sweet jams.
Seated directly to my left. Wait! What?
Nope.
Something's changed.
Nope.
Norman is working on a secret project down in Los Angeles today. So I'm joined today by Jeremy Williams,
Hi.
formerly of Game Theory, but more recently of This Is Only a Test.
Yes.
And Gary Whitta,
Also
formerly of Game Theory. Yeah.
And that was the Game Theory music.
Well, Jeremy rightly pointed out, This Is Only a Test folk are outnumbered by Game Theory folk today. So I figured, we'll bust out the Game Theory music.
That's true. That was a blast from the past. You composed that, didn't you, Jeremy?
It's a good track, isn't it?
It's great.
It's hot beats, man.
I always liked it because it gave the suggestion of like ancient wisdom.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
Although the podcast was anything but that.
Well, I mean, but in your benefit, in your side, you and Colin both are fairly ancient and occasionally wise.
Occasionally, always ancient, but only occasionally wise.
Only occasionally wise.
But
yeah.
it did the podcast, that music that you just heard, it gave the impression. I think the brief that we gave to Jerry was: imagine that you are a traveler on a quest for knowledge.
Did they really say this?
Probably.
No.
Imagine that you are a traveler on a quest for knowledge.
Yeah.
And you're climbing up this mountain somewhere in Asia to get to the top where these ancient Zen monks of the gaming industry, basically me and Colin,
Yeah.
would sit at the top, and we would bring you enlightenment.
Western enlightenment
Yes.
with an Eastern
You
tone.
Yes.
almost don't need the animated intro to the podcast now that you have that imagery.
Yeah.
That's good.
There was an animated intro for the podcast?
I'm saying there could have been.
Oh.
But now you have that.
But if there was one, that's what it would be.
Right.
So, like I said, Norm's on assignment this week. Welcome back to the show, Gary. It's been a little while.
Been a long. I mean, I hardly ever get to do it these days, so it's a treat for me to be here.
We're in, what, like every 6 months, it seems like these days?
I used to be here every single week. I don't know how I did that. What was I doing with my life that I had time to come in here every single week?
If you think about it, it was between Eli and After Earth.
Right. But I'm still supposed to be busy in between movies coming out. That's how the next movie comes out.
I think we've made a history of getting people to be guests on our podcast who like to get out of the house occasionally, but don't always have the
to be honest with
opportunity
you,
to do
this
that.
week was perfect for me because I've been super, super busy, and I'm about to be super busy again, but this is one of those like rare weeks where it's like the calm before the storm. And I've been twiddling my thumbs a little bit, so it's actually a perfect time for me to get out and see some real people.
Well, I'm glad we were able to pry you away from Batman to get you over
I'm
here.
just glad we finally have a podcast where everyone's wearing an Apple Watch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Finally.
almost wore my Speedmaster today without thinking about it.
No.
I'm 50-50 on Apple Watch and Speedmaster.
All Apple Watch podcast. I like
Yeah,
that.
no, this is...
and all dads.
It is all dads.
All Apple Watch podcast.
I got to say, on the dad front, this like the 3 weeks on either side of the solstice are brutal because the sun's up at like 6:30 in the morning and out until
And the
9
late
o'clock.
sunset. I have one of the complications on my watch is the thing that tells you when sunset and sundown is every day.
You use
and
that?
Because right now, okay, so 8:34. That's basically it's crazy. It's 8:30 at night, and the sun is still high in the sky. Basically, It's still broad daylight outside. This is the summer solstice. I much prefer the winter when it's like dark at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's great because that way when you're tired of being on kid detail, you can be like, look, it's nighttime. It's time.
But yeah,
to go
my
to bed.
daughter
5:30, I'm
will
sorry.
say like, it's not time to go to bed. It's clearly daytime outside.
Yeah, I get that too.
My daughter is up at 6:10 every morning, and she
my God.
says, "Mommy, daytime." And mommy's like, "Go back to sleep. I'll turn on your lights so you can read."
Is she in her own bed yet? Or
Yeah,
her
she's
own
in
room?
her- We moved her out of the crib, and now she sleeps on a queen size mattress on the floor because she was falling out and she didn't like the rails. So
Nice.
we just never got a bed frame.
That's it's good.
Yeah, so she has like a 6-inch fall at most, which is fine.
That's good. So you don't have to worry about them falling out of the bed.
Yeah.
As ours very occasionally does. We have the bumpers, but she will still occasionally flail around, and then you hear a
It's a big thump off of that bed.
oh, we gotta go get her.
See, our bed, the bed we have right now, it's low enough that when she falls out, most of the time she doesn't even wake up. She's just like wakes up in the morning. She's like, "Why the fuck am I on the floor?" So
I think ours did that once. I think she fell out of the bed.
Slept
Like
through
we
it.
just found her on the floor asleep. She either fell out or crawled out, but whatever it was, she was fine with sleeping on the floor.
I took my daughter camping this weekend, but talk amongst yourself for a second. So I think somebody just came in the door.
Brilliant. Live podcasting. I love it.
Someone came in the door.
So, Jeremy,
Yeah.
what shall you and I talk about?
Well, you wanted to talk about the Apple Watch, and he didn't want you to. So why don't
Well,
you get out of
because,
the way?
obviously you've already talked about it a lot, but I'll just take the opportunity to say I very much like mine. I think it's good.
Yep.
I'm enjoying it. What have you found you use it for the most?
Usually I use it for schedules, actually. I use the default screen, so it gives all the data on there.
Oh, the modular one? Yeah, that's what I have. See?
Do you? That's all right, cool. And you changed it to blue.
It's the ugliest of screens.
It is the ugliest.
But it's also the most functional.
It's the most functional.
You just left the front door open, Gary, for hobos and homeless people to come in.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't like the band, though. I don't like this plasticky band, only because I want it to be slightly tighter or slightly looser than two.
So you got yourself the leather loop.
So I splurged on the leather loop, and it better fit just how I want it because it's expensive as hell.
It's my favorite. It's the one that I got with mine, and it's my favorite band. I like it a lot.
It hurts when you have to spend an extra $150 to get it.
Did you guys see the $150 for a leather band?
It is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What they're charging for the bands. Nearly $500 for the stainless steel thing.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's like $450, I think.
I mean,
their markup on those has got to be crazy. Somebody told me that for the sports band, I think it cost them like $3 or $4 to make that, and they're selling it for $50.
50?
Yeah.
Wow. I took my daughter camping this weekend.
Yeah.
My wife and I went camping on Father's
Where'd you go?
Day. We went to a little state park outside Pescadero, California.
See, I would have thought that you would just ease into it by like camping in your backyard.
We did that we did that once last summer, and then set up the tent last weekend, and kind of to air everything out, kind of explore let her get excited about the tent again.
But this is your first time like going actually out into the great outdoors.
Yeah, someplace that if we had to punt out, like the first time we did backyard camping, we had to punch out at 3:00 in the morning, which was unpleasant. But it basically meant scooping somebody up and then coming inside and getting into our beds.
Yeah.
With this, that wasn't as much of an option. So we could have still done it because it was like an hour away, but it was windy backcountry roads up into the mountains of Northern California, and it went really well.
Where is it that you went?
So Pescadero is 45 minutes south of Half Moon Bay. So we drove down to Half Moon Bay, got some groceries, had lunch at Cameron's.
Cameron's, the British pub. I love that place. Yeah,
great bangers and mash.
Yeah.
And then rolled down to Pescadero, which is about 40 minutes south before you get to Santa Cruz, though. So,
okay. Now, is that when you go? Because I know nothing about camping. Do you have to like reserve something, or do you just show up with a tent?
So this is the thing that I learned, because my previous camping was either on private property, county parks, or like backcountry backpacking. And when you go backcountry backpacking, you can get permits. You have to get a backcountry permit that says, hey, I'm allowed to sleep in the woods here or be on this trail if you're in a national park or something, just so you don't have like a massive traffic jam of people on the trails.
Right.
But they're relatively easy to get. The thing I'd never done before was like state campgrounds in areas around big cities and big areas. Man, it was impossible to find a place to stay. So
so the whole place is just teeming with campers?
Well, there's 50 campsites probably at the place, and they're depending on the site, some are closer to others than others, because some of them are set up obviously for like if we all wanted to go camping together and each take our families, we'd each get one campsite, and then we'd just get ones that are adjoining each other.
And when you say campsite, you're not talking about like actual like hardcore like Blair Witch camping where you just got a tent out in the woods.
No.
Like there's a nice cleared space.
You can probably drive right up to
this. This is car camping. Yeah, this is like you back your SUV up to the camping place, unload your shit. There's a nice, relatively flat area for your tent. There's a picnic table. There's a fire pit. There's water. This campground even had real bathrooms, like flushers.
See, that to me is not unless you're really roughing it. How is that? I mean, again, you've got a kid, so you can't.
2 years old.
You don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
But when I think of camping, I'm thinking about like really out there, like in the boonies.
You're still sleeping on the ground, though.
Yeah, you're still sleeping on the ground, cooking over a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, but it's not like you feel cut off from civilization.
No
cell service.
You're basically tailgating.
No cell service. So I didn't have email or text or anything.
How did you like? Because we've
weekend.
always fantasized about that. Like,
delightful.
You liked it?
It's fucking great.
Did you have to get through a period of like cold turkey first though?
Nope.
You just liked it?
I literally got there. I set up the tent. I was pouring sweat. I opened the cooler, popped out a beer, sat down on my lawn chair, and was like, "This is I could do this. This is okay." 2 days in, I did walk around with the phone long enough on Sunday to find a place that I had like one bar of cell service, so I could text my dad "Happy Father's Day."
Nice.
But that was pretty much it.
So you could see other campers.
Yeah. So this was closer than I like generally for car camping. Like we've been to places up in Sonoma County before, like where you have basically like 3 or 4 campsites will share an outhouse, but the campsites you can't see from each other, which is what I prefer. what I really prefer is backpacking, but obviously with a 2-year-old, we're not going to do any of that yet.
I guess I just don't see the appeal. Like, let's go sleep on the floor. Like,
there's a lot to be said about being someplace where the mere act of living takes a lot more work than it normally does, because you kind of it's kind of zen. You know how like trying to empty your mind of extraneous thoughts is a good thing for you theoretically? That's kind of what you get out of camping.
I guess, but I mean, like the whole arc of human civilization ever since, like the Neanderthal age has basically been trying to get us away from living in caves and sleeping on the ground.
It's not comfortable. There's that.
Well,
but you guys also have young children. When they get a little bit older and you're both city dwellers, you're going to find that you can't just let your kids run outside and go run around because they'll get hit by a car.
Yeah.
But if you go camping, you're in a safe spot, you can generally just say, go, run. Just don't go past, that cliff yonder.
Don't go to the old house over there
And then
where no one ever comes back
Don't go in
from.
the gingerbread house.
Yeah.
They go and explore, and it's good for them to run around like that.
Well, and that's the thing. Even with the 2-year-old, we basically, when we first got there, we put little pieces of tape at the places. Once she saw the tape, she knew she couldn't go further.
Yeah.
And basically, she was allowed to run around like a maniac inside a 40-foot circle. And it was constantly entertaining. There were banana slugs all over the place. There's birds and leaves and all sorts of cool shit to touch. Leaves are cool. We have evergreens in the backyard. We don't have leaves.
Right.
So it was basically like free babysitting. And Gina and I could just, we'd go on walks and stuff. But most of the time it was just making food.
Does make you appreciate your bed.
It is, well, air mattress, man. A nice air mattress.
No replacement for a bed.
It is not a replacement for a bed. It was pretty nice. So anyway.
Oh God, I slept on an air mattress once. It was the worst night of sleep I've ever had. Those are terrible.
The secret of the air mattress, don't fill it up all the way. You want it to be you want to sink in a little bit.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the problem was. It was awful. I hated it. Never sleep on an air mattress.
Gary, I don't think you should go camping. I don't want to put this out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, some people are cut out for it. I don't think I am.
I don't care for it.
I mean, if you want to go back to how we lived, I mean, why not just have, gladiatorial combat when you get out there as well?
I mean, that sounds pretty fun, actually.
You'd sign up for it then?
I'm saying, if you want to buy into how we used to live before we developed civilization, then, just really lean into it, embrace it.
There's a lot to be said for appreciating, the land of our forefathers and the way we used to be. Especially, I mean, I feel like having the kid know what it's like to be outside a little bit is probably not a bad thing.
But most of society, the arc of progress basically goes forward, right? Like things, like we're less messed up now than we were 1,000 years ago when we nailed people to trees and things like that and had slaves and were basically constantly killing each other all the time over the most trivial things.
Well, the first one is probably not true anymore, but the other two still.
No, we are
true
still
in
killing
large
each other over
portions of the
trivial
world.
things.
Yeah.
But, we learned how to shelter ourselves. We came up with power and communication and transit systems. And we basically made the world easier and better and more comfortable to live in.
So basically what you're saying is that the epitome of human progress and evolution over the last 2,000 years is Donald Trump. And, that we should just embrace that.
I mean, that is a tremendous leap of logic that I'm fascinated for you to take me through.
Well, I'm just saying, if we don't want to go back, if you're saying we're better now than we were then any
in general,
any
yes, we
average
are.
Representative of the species is better than we were then.
No, that's not true. I'm sure there were cavemen who were much better than Hitler.
Maybe. Okay.
Like you can take any one example. I'm sure there was a caveman back in the day who was just like an awesome guy. Like you'd be thrilled to know him even today.
Like Ugg
Yeah.
bro. You
Right.
just fist bump him wherever you go.
And then fast forward like a million years or whatever, and then you have Hitler, who is obviously terrible, one of the worst people ever. So no, it's not to say that each generation doesn't have its good and bad examples, but in general, I would say that we're better as a people than we were when we were in caveman times.
See, your caveman example is good because there's a fair amount of research that shows that the Neanderthals were actually, hunted and genocided by early Homo sapiens. Like we are explicitly responsible for that species no longer existing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, you wouldn't want Neanderthals walking around today, would you?
Well, I mean, how do you know? You just said they might be nice people.
Well, no, because they were savages.
So were we then.
Did you know that everyone has Neanderthal DNA except for Africans?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I read that on my 23andMe.
I thought it was just Caucasians, right?
No.
Oh, really?
It says everyone in the world, according to 23andMe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we talk about some tech news? Not a lot this week, so it shouldn't take long.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, you basically spent the last week living, away from all technology. So I don't even know what you're going to have to contribute.
I got back on Sunday or Monday, and somebody said, hey, I'm back. I was off the internet for the weekend. What did I miss? And somebody was like, there was some shit with Taylor Swift, and P. Diddy got arrested for terrorist effects.
Do you have like the hot tips on the latest, like banging rocks together to make a fire, or like what's the cutting edge technology
let's
with
see,
you this week?
I take my fire lighting technique is to take a stick, shave edges of it, and then put kindling underneath it and light the kindling on fire. I was a Boy Scout. Were you not a Boy Scout?
No, I was.
You were a Boy
way
Scout.
too much time outside.
I was a Cub Scout. We never got to fire.
Wow, they didn't let Cub Scouts do fireworks?
This podcast is already got
way off
so
the
many
rails.
great little gem one-liners in here.
I would have figured as part of the home of Boy Scouting, Gary, I would have thought that.
Yeah, we invented it, Lord Baden-Powell.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's an English invention, like most things.
Yes. Amazon Echo is available to everybody. You can all buy it now.
That was like a week after you received yours exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what happened was I saw it when it first came out, and as a Prime member, I guess we got selected for the early program, and I didn't jump on it. And then I jumped on it later, and it took me a while to get the invite back again because it was on a closed basis. And I finally got it. And now, like 2 weeks later, I still got it at the super cheap price. I got it for $99.
Oh, that's good.
Instead of the
It's not 99.
no, I think it's double that now for
It's
regular.
$180 for everyone.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah,
And
wow.
Prime people don't get a discount anymore?
I think
Wow,
Prime, I
no.
think Prime people get a $20 discount. Like I saw it for $179.
Oh,
Nope.
score.
$179 is the price.
No, that was why I wanted to jump on it. It said get it now. It's half price in the preview program.
Nice.
And I got to say, even I like it so much that even if I paid full freight for it, I'd still be very satisfied.
So if you don't have a Bluetooth speaker, it's a kind of okay Bluetooth speaker.
I was going to say one of the things I like about it, I actually think the quality of the speaker just for playing music is actually pretty good.
You guys are too hard on the speaker. It's not great, but it's fine.
For $99, it's awesome.
Yeah.
For $180, you can
It's
get a lot
not as
better
good as
stuff.
you're going to get like
Yes.
buying like a Boom or like a good like top. But
Yeah.
given that that's the speaker that comes in with everything else that it does, it's really good. And I haven't even had it cranked up to high volume yet.
That's kind of where I end up. Like, as long as you don't crank it up to high volume, you're fine. If you're just
Right.
listening to reasonable
Well, it's like if
level-
you've just got it in the kitchen like most people, you're
Yeah.
not, you don't want to bring the roof down.
Well, and that's the place, like the kitchen, the living room, our house, it works out because they're kind of both close to each other and you can
Yeah.
hear one from the other. It works really, really well. And I've tested a ton of other voice recognition stuff in the home. This is far and away the best always on thing. It's way better.
Yeah,
than
we
the
love it.
Xbox.
It's the favorite. I mean, Leah and I both got Apple Watches, and we like those a lot. But I would say that of all the things, and even in the last few years that we've like either bought for ourselves or for the house, that's a tech product. The Echo is, I think, the most useful thing that we're glad to have around that. Like, if you took it away, I would instantly miss it.
So I'll tell you the two things that we use it for in our house because we don't have. It's not integrated with smart things yet. Norm has his hooked up to his Hue bulbs, so he can say
To his what?
to his Philips Hue bulbs.
Oh, okay.
So you can say, Alexa, turn off the light in here, and it'll just turn off the lights.
I thought you said he had it hooked up to his balls.
Yeah, Norm hooked it up to his testicles.
If them, then that.
Yes.
Yes.
But we use the shopping list for like.
Oh, that's my
staple stuff.
that's my favorite feature by far.
Well, it's become a thing that when I'm at the grocery store, I just always check that list, and it's hooked up to Evernote now.
So
I
the
don't even have to
amazing thing
look
is,
at it
I went on a shopping trip,
Mm-hmm.
and I was using the shopping list on the Amazon Echo, on the app as I was poking around the aisles looking for things. And Leah, who was at home, noticed that there was a couple of things that we still needed. So she just said, "Alexa, add grapes, whatever, to the shopping list."
Wow, really?
And it instantly, like as I'm at the shops, it shows up on my list.
Ooh, that's
Magic.
nice.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And then timers. Like we use them
Timers are great.
for laundry timers and food timers a lot.
Have you actually ordered stuff from Prime? Because you can do
No,
that
I haven't
too.
bought anything with it yet.
My wife does not embrace technology. She liked the iPhone, and since then, nothing has clicked with her until the Echo. Like,
Really?
What does she like about it?
She orders stuff. Like
really?
That's how she'll get new cat litter, new cat food.
Oh, so the reorder feature, right? You can say Alexa reorder
as long as
detergent.
as long as you've already ordered it
yes,
before.
it has to
It's
know
in
what it
your
is that
order
you want to
history.
get.
Yeah, and timers, and occasionally she will listen to NPR on it.
Huh.
Yeah,
I always forget it does radio.
In the morning, I'll say Alexa, what's the news, and it will give you the NPR news briefing. Leah uses it a lot for the day's weather because when she's going to take our daughter out, she likes to know how to dress. Like
You
When
can
San
cut-
Francisco. Oh, Go ahead, Jeremy.
You can customize the news. Have you played with that?
No, I haven't. I mean, there's clearly a lot of like deep
Yeah.
customization you can do. I just added my own profile to it because what I did was so the music. Let's talk about the music for them. The music is great. Well, I don't know how this works, but I suspect that Amazon's doing some stuff algorithmically here. When I say play some Prime music, because as Prime members we get access to all that music. But by the way, let me just say again, I think Amazon Prime is overall like the best value these days with all the video and the music and the shipping and everything. It's pretty amazing
It's a lot
what
of
you
stuff.
get.
It's way more expensive than say Netflix, because Netflix is like $10 a month.
But it's
something
way
like
more
that.
stuff than Netflix.
But actually, it's cheaper than Netflix.
No, it's
$10
about the
a
same.
month. It's $120 versus $100.
Yeah. So Amazon, I don't think is as good a library as Netflix, but it's pretty good. Plus you get the music, plus you get the shipping and a bunch of other stuff.
I think their kid stuff is better than Netflix these days.
Yeah, and maybe. Well, it's interesting. Like the big war for video rights these days is all about kids stuff.
Yeah.
I would say more than 50% of our Netflix or Amazon use is programs that our daughter watches.
Amazon has the all the like classic Mr. Rogers stuff.
Yeah.
So you can go back and watch the Crayons episode and the How Orange Juice
and it has
is Made
Mickey Mouse
episode.
Clubhouse, which is our favorite.
Yeah,
around the
we
house.
stopped watching that.
The
'cause
new
it
one?
was encouraging her to buy shit.
They
Yeah.
Might Be Giants did the theme song for that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good
Really?
theme song.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. They do the theme at the end as well, the hot dog dance, which
So-
I've heard like a million times now. But
So
what I was
the
gonna
Echo's
say-
pretty good.
I was going to say the Prime Music thing. My guess is because it's been really, really. I don't know if it's just luck or whatever, but anytime I come in the morning, into the kitchen, I'm like kind of half asleep, and I'm making my coffee, and I'll say, Alexa, play some music, and it says, here's a playlist you might like.
Yeah, I did that this morning.
And it's generally, I would say, like 80% been like, oh, this is something that either I know I like, or I don't know what this is, but I quite like it. I find myself saying, Alexa, what song is this? A lot, because it might be something I want to get. And I wonder if it's how deep algorithmically it's going. Is it looking at my Amazon account and going, right, he buys a lot of stuff for kids, he buys nerdy stuff, blah, blah, blah. We can surmise that this is the profile of this user. And so when we say this is music you might like, there's actually a lot of thought going into that. Is my guess.
Did you at some point buy CDs from Amazon? Was that the place you bought music?
Yeah.
Or MP3s?
But back when CDs were how you bought music, I buy them from Amazon.
Yeah, so that's probably how they know. Because all that stuff
And-
is in your cloud library.
Well, here's the thing. I did the thing. I paid $25 a year now I uploaded all of my music into the Amazon cloud because I have it in iTunes Match, but I hate iTunes Match. It never works. I think it's Apple's biggest failure. Don't like iTunes Match at all.
Okay.
Amazon Cloud works really well, and so now I've uploaded all my music into Amazon Cloud, so I guess it can look at that and get a sense of what I like. Good luck trying to make any sense of it, but that's my music.
Gary likes stealing stuff from Napster in the early 2000s.
But it also means that I can say to the Echo, play some of my music or play songs by the Beatles. I've got the entire Beatles library in my thing. I say play music by the Beatles, and it will have it because it's not just pulling from Pandora or from Prime. It's got all of my music there as well. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's a neat thing.
I haven't heard from a single person, and I guess in our group it's not that surprising because we have lots of people that are into tech. But I made a Facebook post saying, "Oh, I really like the Amazon Echo," and like 20 of my friends all jumped in and go, "Oh yeah, we love ours as well." Like people really like it.
It's the places that it breaks down are if you go down the feature list. Like if I was a reviewer for a site that just reviews stuff and like tries to bang out a review in 2 days, I would look at it and be like, okay, here's the list of features. I'm going to try out the features, and then you start asking it like, what's on TV right now, and it's going to mess that up, right? It's going to talk about, or when the Warriors game was on last week, if you asked it, one of the examples in one of the reviews I read yesterday was, what's the score in the game right now? Which is something it's supposed to be able to answer, knowing what it knows about what sports you like and what games are on and all that. And then it spent 10 minutes listing the 25 definitions of the word score.
I will say that from my limited time with it yet, and I haven't, again, there's like all kinds of user groups and places where people get really into the kind of the deep customization of it, and there's all kinds of things you can do to ask it complex stuff. We've just been using like basically the functions that come on the little card that comes with it. We've basically been doing those. And I would say the quality and the speed of the voice recognition and passing what it is that you're asking for it and figuring it out is way better than Siri, way better than Connect. I would say it's on a par with Google's voice stuff, which is the best I've seen.
That's my feeling as well.
Yeah, but you can do it from anywhere in the room.
Yes,
So
we've
that's
done
different.
it. Our
You can do it in different rooms.
Our kitchen is kind of adjacent to our living room as well. And it can be playing music out in the kitchen, and I'll just say, Alexa, stop. And I don't even have to raise my voice. And then I'll say, Xbox, turn on to my Xbox, which is sitting right there, and it won't do shit.
Well, one of the things we've noticed with my daughter is she started repeating the things that we say to the different stuff in our house that makes it work.
Oh yeah.
And
Our daughter can turn the Xbox on and off, and now she started to ask Alexa stuff as well.
So ours can't do that, but whenever we say something to Alexa and she mimics it, she always just does it once. Whenever we say something to the Xbox or to Ivy, which is this voice activated alarm clock that's terrible, she always says, "Hello, Ivy, turn on entry bulb. Hello, Ivy, turn on entry bulb. Hello." She does it 3 times because that's always takes 3 times.
Yeah.
Right. Xbox always takes 2 times at least. So anyway,
If you were a parrot, if I had a parrot in my house and it was copying the things that I would say, what you would basically hear it saying all the time is me repeating an Xbox command 3 times, each time a little bit louder than the last, and then saying fucking piece of shit under my breath after it finally gets it right.
Okay, so the one thing I will say, even though Microsoft has seemingly completely disavowed the Kinect and it does not speak of it
they've
anymore,
completely backed away from it.
Somebody told me the last time we bitched about the Xbox voice recognition stuff being bad, that if you recalibrate it after like an update that happened sometime in the last year, it does a much better job.
I'm gonna
it does.
recalibrate mine again. You shouldn't have to do that, but I'm going to.
I mean, if you're supposed to recalibrate anytime you move it or move stuff in the room, so you know.
It's funny the way that the entire Microsoft Xbox One strategy to date in its first year has basically been to kind of progressively just undo everything that they did at launch. Unbundle the Kinect, get rid of all the DRM software sharing stuff,
add backwards compatibility,
completely ditch their content strategy. They said this is the box that's going to do everything. If you remember, their initial pitch was all about TV, and people complained, "Where's the games?" Now they have plenty of games, but their TV strategy, their content strategies, the new CEO basically killed it completely.
But the irony of that, of course, is that the Xbox is now somehow the place that I go to watch TV.
It's still
my TiVo's still hooked up to it. They have Netflix, they have Amazon, they have Hulu, they have HBO Go. All the stuff that I watch lives there.
I hate to admit it, but it's still the box that I use the most. Again, like you said, the cables pass through it, and it mostly works pretty well.
And the ability to say Xbox pause, incredibly useful.
When it works, it's brilliant.
Even if you have to say it 3 times, it's easier than finding the remote.
Sometimes that's the case.
Does the Xbox? I don't own an Xbox One. Does it make any sense for cable cutters? Do you need cable to take advantage of all this functionality? Or does it have built-in streaming services?
It has built-in.
Oh, yeah,
it has
it
apps
does.
for everything, except for maybe the standalone HBO and Showtime. I don't
Right
think those are
now,
there yet.
if you were going to buy, if you were going to be a cord cutter, I'd say get an Apple TV.
No, absolutely not. Get a Roku. Roku
Does that have HBO now?
That
on
has
it?
everything.
Does it have
doesn't
HBO,
now?
Well, that's the big.
I'm going to tell you a secret, Gary. Most people who are cord cutters are just mooching somebody else's HBO Go login.
Okay, well, I like to live my life inside the law.
Okay.
Right, Jeremy?
Good for you.
So you're a hero.
Surprised to see you, a major tech paragon, advocating
I'm not saying that this is
theft
what I
and
do.
piracy.
My point is the Roku situation will be fixed in a month because the exclusivity.
I don't
ends at the
have
end of this
an
month.
extra HDMI port. I'm sticking with the Apple TV.
The only reason I mentioned I like Apple TV and I think it's going to get a big upgrade soon. But there are other I love my Fire Stick. That's a fantastic box as well. Terrific.
I think that
that does certain things that Apple TV doesn't do. It's annoying that there isn't one box that does every single thing.
So
yet, but Apple TV comes the closest.
Roku's just closest to that because Apple doesn't have Amazon stuff. The Apple TV doesn't have Amazon stuff.
That's true. It doesn't have Amazon, but in the cord cutting conversation, the biggest roadblock has always been HBO. And HBO Now was the thing that changed that, and Apple TV is the only box that has it currently.
But it's limited. Like that ends in 5 days or something. It ends in June.
And so when everyone else, that's why I said, if you ask me today, I would say, do you care about HBO? That's going to have to be the way you go.
Yeah. Anyway, more stuff that's happening. Samsung got caught turning off Windows Update on a bunch of laptops.
I heard about that.
So what the story, as I understand it, is that basically Samsung was tired of Microsoft overwriting their drivers with Microsoft provided drivers that didn't provide the functionality that they needed for their additions to the OS. So Samsung was customizing the software and the hardware so that things like their touchpad driver would. This is an example. I don't know if this is true, but so their touchpad driver would behave in a fairly non-standard way. Microsoft was replacing the Samsung provided driver with the Microsoft provided driver because it's newer. And so Samsung said, F this, we're just going to run a program that every time Windows starts, it says it turns off the automatically update Windows checkbox in Windows Update.
We've seen stories like this a million times before. You see it on PCs, you see it on Android phones with, the firmware that gets added on over it and usually makes life more difficult. Yet another if you're going to have a PC, just do a clean install.
Well, so this is, but on laptops you can't, because if you want to have trackpad drivers that work with multi-touch and all that stuff, you have to have the manufacturer provided trackpad driver. If you want to take full advantage of your graphics card, like you have to install manufacturer provided drivers. And a lot of times the only way to get those is to install their driver management program, which then will dump this crap on it.
So you're saying that after a Windows update, Samsung laptops trackpads would fail?
No, they wouldn't fail. It's just that the thing, like if they do multi-touch, like a Windows, like a Mac trackpad,
That would stop working.
that would stop working.
Okay.
So it's frustrating for the users. Doing it this way is not the right way. The right way is to update their drivers faster so that the newer drivers from Microsoft aren't the generic ones,
Yeah.
but are theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Can't you get certified and like be part of the Windows update process?
they probably are. I mean, they should be. They're a huge laptop vendor.
Yeah.
So it's just, this is somebody making a bad decision.
Clearly.
Because the problem with it is, of course, that when you turn off Windows updates, you also lose all the security updates.
Yeah, bad
So
idea.
you're open to all
Ooh.
sorts of vulnerabilities and stuff like that. Anyway,
And the thing is, it's like especially on Windows, if Windows Update is switched off, you're gonna know fairly quickly, because I at this point I only use a Windows PC for games, but every time I turn it on, there's an update.
well,
And so if that suddenly stops, I'm like, wait, what's going on here? You're supposed to be updating something. You do every single time I turn you on.
it's the second Tuesday of every month. That's when Microsoft's updates come out. So you always get, if you haven't turned on your computer more often than once a month, then you'll always have updates.
Right.
Basically. The bigger issue I think was that Samsung didn't acknowledge that this was a mistake. They basically just said, look, we're working around a problem that Microsoft created, and we're going to keep doing this. It's not good.
And that's wrong thinking.
The other thing on the Windows front, well, there's a couple other things on the Windows front. Microsoft, the people in charge of HoloLens were on the Giant Bomb live show at E3, the nighttime show,
Oh, okay.
and they talked about FOV. In terms of the FOV of the devices that they showed in January being big, the prototypes, the closer to shipping stuff that I saw and that Norm saw at E3 being smaller, going to be closer to smaller for the final. The stuff that they're showing isn't final yet. It may get a little bit bigger, but it's not going to be a full field of view.
Did they talk about the disparity between the way they shoot it with a live camera?
They did not talk about that.
Because that's a problem.
I think that's the bigger issue. I think probably what they're going to say when they're confronted on that is that the field of view that they're showing on the camera is the field of view of the
I
of the
understand.
lens when put in front of your eye. But yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, HoloLens, basically, if you make a rectangle with your fingers and hold it about 8 inches in front of your face, that's pretty much the field of view that you get the projected images into.
So
on
you can't
HoloLens.
have anything in your peripheral vision?
You have to turn your head to see it.
Huh.
So when you turn your head, it pops
Well,
up.
yeah, as soon as you turn your head, it's no longer in your peripheral vision.
That's my point. Yeah. So it's like it's a real fixed field of view. It's as if you had a screen that you looked through. It's kind of like the old Sony HMDs, the big ones. When you look, except for you can see through to the world behind. In that there's a small screen, and when you look through that, you see the projected images. It's still neat, but I think that's going to turn off a lot of people. Literally, when they showed it to people at E3, it is the one piece of universal feedback that they got, which was, "Hey, the FOV on this is kind of thin."
Do they have a launch
Window
yet?
I think they said during the Windows 10 timeframe, but
this year?
no, during the Windows. I think Windows 10
lifetime.
I think that's like the launch. Yeah, since Windows 10 is now just Windows,
Right.
that could be anytime in the next 10 years. But I
Okay.
think my assumption is 2016.
All right.
Let's see. There was one other piece of Microsoft thing, and I can't find it on the list right now, but that's okay. Oh, Windows 10 Insiders. They finally clarified how the licensing works. If you have a Windows 7 or Windows 8 license, you can upgrade to Windows 10 for free. You have a genuine copy of Windows 10. It'll be good forever.
Oh, really? I can do that?
You can do
Because
that.
I had a little thing that showed up in my taskbar the other day that said "Get Windows 10."
People are pretty upset about that because you can't get rid of that unless you click on it and say, yes, I want to do this.
I didn't get that.
Do you not have a legal copy of Windows
I
10?
do. I do.
Check your
No.
Windows
You
update
mean
settings.
8? I have
Of
a
8.
Yeah, I bought it.
Check your Windows update.
Do
You might
I
just
want
have
to
not
upgrade
noticed
to
it.
Windows 10 at this point?
I do want to.
But do I?
I kind of feel like no one should upgrade until give it 2 weeks and see if there's any big flaws.
It's not out yet, right?
It's end of July 29th, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 27th. I always get those mixed up. The upshot on Windows 10 is with any OS, give it a little bit. You don't want to like upgrade your OS, something that's really hard to roll back,
Yeah.
and then find out that a piece of software that you need for work or that you use every day doesn't work anymore.
I think, not upgrading to Windows 8 was probably one of the smartest decisions I ever made.
Windows 8 was bad. Windows 8.1 is a dramatic improvement. It's still not great, but it's much better. I think Windows 10, from what I've seen of Windows 10, I've used it a little bit on both a desktop and a laptop now. It seems like it's an even better step in the direction of, making the desktop the real home for the OS, and then the Metro stuff is for people who have tablets, basically, which is as it should be. The PC then, with Windows 10, if you're on a desktop PC with a mouse and keyboard, you don't see the touch stuff. If you're on a touch device, you don't see the desktop. It kind of works the way you'd expect it to.
Okay, good.
The big thing the nice thing about Windows 10 is that this Windows Insider program, which anybody who downloads Windows 10 to beta test now is a member of the Windows Insider program. Those people, as long as they stay in the Windows Insider program, can keep using Windows 10 for free. So what Insider means is it's basically like the Xbox Preview program. You get builds faster than the general public.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically it gives them a massive pool of people who are using the OS.
So wait, but if they leave the Insider program, they have to pay up?
They have to pay.
They have to pay for a copy of the OS?
If they don't have a legit copy of Windows 8 or Windows 7, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you're Windows 8, Windows 7, you're good no matter what.
Got it now. Okay.
If you're an insider, you can keep using it for free indefinitely, but you have to stay in the Insider program.
Got it.
And the upshot is, I think that this will probably be a pretty smooth OS rollout. Like when you have as many people testing something as they have testing Windows 10 right now, or as Apple will have testing El Capitan later this year,
Or the new iOS.
They're
doing an open beta for that for the first time.
Open betas are good for
the larger sample you get, the better, right?
Yeah, the more likelihood they'll at least know about and have fixes for the big problems you're likely to hit. And of course, the more default your set of uses is, the more less likely you are to have problems. So if you're using stuff like Adobe software and Microsoft Office and Chrome and Firefox and you're probably better off than if you're using more esoteric software. Anyway, the Qi wireless charging standard has a new update that's going to give it 15-watt wireless charging. So what that means is you'll get the 2.0 quick charge, which will let you charge your entire phone to 60% or 80% or something like that in like 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
Over the wireless contactless charger.
This is a new open standard?
It's with Qi. I don't know if Qi's open, but it's the QI.
Oh, that's QI.
Yeah. Okay. And it's probably just for new devices going forward, because I don't think that they'll be able to make a firmware update.
That's amazing.
But yeah.
That's a lot of power.
Is a lot of power over what I assume is, I think those are inductive, right? It's like a sonic care.
Sounds right. I mean, like the iPad chargers, they're only 2 watts, I think.
Yeah, the newer ones are 10, aren't they?
Oh, you're right. They're 10.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, so 15 watts should let you charge a laptop-sized battery pretty quickly if you want.
Yeah.
I alluded to this earlier. Did you guys see the Apple royalty thing about iTunes Music?
Who didn't?
Well, I didn't. I was camping.
Oh, that's right. You were camping.
The final chapter in that just played out this morning.
That's right.
What happened?
Taylor Swift has now decided to put her albums on iTunes.
Well,
on Apple Music.
All the old ones were always going to be on there.
Her new one, 1989.
1989 will be on there.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. I already bought it.
I bought it as well.
It's a great album.
Yeah, it is a great album.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've never listened to Taylor Swift in my life.
You're
It is
missing
a
out.
Real good pop album. Sean Vanneman turned me onto it. He was like, you should listen to this album.
Taylor
It's really
Swift
good.
is legit good.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Basically all she's doing, if you like holiday era Madonna,
Yeah.
you're going to like
that's
this
where,
Taylor
that's where
Swift
you
album.
are.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's literally pulling it straight back from our childhood.
I will listen to Taylor Swift.
Yes, I highly encourage.
Now you can go listen to it on Apple Music.
Not yet.
Next Tuesday I can.
Yeah.
Do you recommend I start with 1989?
The other stuff is like pop country. So if you don't like pop country, don't listen to the older stuff.
1989 has probably, of all our albums, probably has the highest number of like radio friendly like hit songs on it.
Yeah.
Like Shake It Off being obviously the big one. But there are others as well that are very good.
It's a very listenable album.
Why is it named that? Was she born then?
I assume so.
No, she's not old enough to be born.
She's 25.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that checks out.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway,
So what happened?
What do you think about this whole business of Taylor Swift being anointed the most powerful woman in business?
well, so here's what happened, as I understand it.
Hit me.
Apple said, "Hey, there's a 3-month free trial for Apple Music. Is it Apple Music or iTunes Music?
It's Apple Music.
Apple Music for everyone who uses it. You get 3 months free. We're not going to pay anybody shit for listens during that period.
Nor are we going to charge.
Nor are we going to charge. Yeah. So free trial, but anything that people listen to free of charge.
And all of the labels agreed to this.
All the big labels. The indie labels did not.
3 months is quite a generous trial period, isn't it?
I think it's the same as Spotify.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In exchange, they were going to pay more after the trial period.
Yes.
Slightly more. 71%, 71.5% instead of 70% to the labels.
That seems like an insignificant amount, but across infinity forever, maybe it works.
That's why they agreed.
The indie labels didn't agree to that. They
Right.
wouldn't sign up. So like Merlin and there's basically two big conglomerates for indie labels. That one has like 20,000 indie labels or something like that, represents 20,000 artists. The other one is some of the larger indie labels.
Yeah.
They didn't agree, and Taylor Swift didn't agree.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor Swift wrote a open letter, which is the most self-important kind of letter one can write, I think, that basically said, look, this is bullshit. I'm here for the peeps. And I'm not putting my music on. I'm not going to let you use my music for this.
Apple has been traditionally awesome, but they're not being awesome here. She was very deferential.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was a good letter.
It was a good letter. And Apple has been Apple has been good to her. She's made a lot of money for Apple. Apple has made a lot of money for her. She is in an unusual circumstance since she makes money on album sales.
And make no mistake, she is one of the biggest, most popular, most visible artists in music today.
Yeah, just to be
no
clear.
Question.
That 1989 album sold more copies in a week than any album had sold since like Mariah Carey. Or
she's
one.
She's one of those. You know how like for the longest time, people say like, okay, yeah, iTunes is great, but like they don't have the Beatles on it, or they don't have Rolling Stones, or whatever. And as they added each one, it was a big thing to get those names.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is now one of those. Is a big enough name that if her music's not on a service, that's a big deal. It was a big deal when it happened with Spotify.
Yeah.
So I don't know the timing on this because I was away, but I think that happened on Friday, right?
Yeah, I mean, this all happened very quickly.
I thought the letter was on the weekend.
Maybe it was on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
from the letter to today, I think was less than a week.
Yeah. So and then Eddie Q came and said, "Look, we're going to pay artists on Monday. I think first thing."
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this morning, Taylor Swift back on iTunes, Apple Music. So we've come full circle.
I feel fairly confident in saying that I think this is great, and I love Taylor Swift. I think she's great. I like her music. I like what she stands for. I think she says a lot of good stuff. It's clear that I think she's more interested in helping other artists than she is herself. She has plenty already. So I think this all came from a good place. But I think it's naive to imagine that this was just Taylor Swift writing a letter, Eddie Q reading it and saying, "Oh, okay." And then Taylor Swift saying, "Okay, you can have my music." I guarantee there was a lot more depth to the conversations behind the scenes on this.
Well, and there's a massive amount of market force behind Taylor Swift saying, "Hey, I'm not going to put my music on."
I mean, it became a
service."
massive story.
Yeah. Well, it was also slow news.
It only became a massive story after Apple conceded. Then it was like, oh my God, Taylor Swift says something, and it just magically gets done.
Yes.
Which in the field of music is actually not.
There's a lot of
untrue.
moving pieces.
But it's ended up being a huge coup for Apple Music in that they are now even though Taylor Swift has said today it's not. I didn't do this as an exclusive deal. It is in fact the only streaming service that has her
Taylor
music
Swift.
on it now.
89 on
Well,
it.
and Tidal.
What do you mean?
And what?
Tidal has her music because isn't she one of the signatories on Tidal?
Tidal?
Tidal, Jay-Z's thing.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
You're joking, right?
Really?
I'm not. I
You are really out of
I
the
am
loop.
joking, but what does it tell you that you didn't know if I was or not? Tidal is going down fast, man. You see they lost another CEO?
No.
Yeah, I didn't put that on the list this week.
I
for
feel like
specific
I have a
reasons.
slightly different opinion on this whole Taylor Swift thing, and it's unpopular, but I don't think Apple was absolutely clearly in the wrong here. They want to make money on Apple Music. I don't think that it's just a play to sell more hardware, because they're going to launch on Android. They're going to launch on the computers.
Well, but they're launching on Android because it was previously on Android, right?
They don't, but they could take that off. Why wouldn't
guess
they?
that's true.
So what I'm saying is, it's not just a platform that's going to sell their hardware. They want to make money on Apple Music. So if they want to make money on Apple Music, let's just trust them for a moment here, and just if they think that a 3-month trial that's free and no one gets paid, and then you get a little bit extra afterwards, is the best way for Apple to make money, it's got to be the best way for the artists to make money.
I don't know if I trust the benevolent hand of Apple.
I disagree. I generally tend to have a favorable view of Apple because I like their products and I think they ultimately are kind of like a more
customer-focused.
non-evil than evil company than many. But at the end of the day, if you've got the biggest company in the world that's sitting on however many countless billions of dollars in cash,
Everybody says that. Everybody says, well, Apple's got enough money to pay them. Yeah,
They do.
They do.
They're more than enough.
They absolutely do, but I don't think it's necessary.
People have pointed out that even with the royalties going to these artists now in the face of the Taylor Swift climb down, it's not even that much money.
Well, that's the remember this Taylor Swift Spotify thing happened because somebody looked at her plays on Spotify and it was billions of plays and looked at the amount of money she made, which was millions of dollars, orders of magnitude different. And we're like, wait, this is horseshit. Why are they getting billions and billions of plays of our album when we get a tenth of a cent per play?
Yeah, I think the bigger issue here is how little artists do get from the streaming services.
That is
absolutely a problem. I mean, I've spoken to artists who hate Spotify for this reason, and that should be remedied. But I still think I don't think that it would have been a horrible thing if every artist just got on board, partnered with Apple, said, okay, we know how to make music, you know how to make money, and let's get through this 3-month thing and see what happens.
I think that's valid as well. But the gist of the conversation in the public space was not on Apple's side, right?
No.
People instantly sided with Taylor Swift, A, because I think she did make a valid point, and B, because people just like Taylor Swift and they want to be on her side, and the media narrative formed around her very, very quickly.
The narrative was artists aren't being paid.
And so I think Eddie Q and Tim Cook and these guys sat in a room and said, we can't win this in the public square.
We're going to look like the bad guys.
It's not a ton of money.
We have 1 week.
Let's just do this, and it will work out better for us.
Totally the right decision, given what happened.
Yes.
I think this is there's a larger issue with Apple right now in the transition from world's biggest underdog to world's biggest company, where sometimes they still act like they're the underdog, and that shit doesn't fly when you have $50 billion in the bank and you're bigger than oil companies.
Yes. The other thing that I think gets missed in all this is a lot of this music is going to be going out on their radio station. I thought this was kind of got overlooked. Is that Apple is now
One is what it's called?
Beats One.
Beats One.
Apple is now, for the first time ever, I believe I'm right in saying, I may be wrong, actually now in the content creation business. Right? This is the first time they've actually they've hired DJs all around the world. They've got studio space. This is not just like streaming music like Spotify or iTunes Radio. These are DJs sitting in studios, interviewing guests, playing music. I love this idea of like 24/7. Right?
It's basically like Shoutcast.
They've got a station in New York, one in LA, and one in London. So wherever you turn it on, anywhere in the world, 24/7, there's going to be like real radio happening.
Well, there was iTunes.
So I thought that was interesting. That's like their biggest push into actually creating content that they've ever done.
Clearly, they're pushing Beats One because they have a huge Times Square advertisement that went up today, but it's or yesterday. But it's
and that's free for 3 months as well.
I think that's free
for everybody.
Oh, that's right. So that's free all the time.
You don't even have to be a paid subscriber.
Yeah.
It's interesting,
and that can't be. I mean, that's a whole media like running a global 24/7.
No, there's a whole
music
team.
station. That is not a cheap enterprise.
That's not a podcast. Those guys are like this whole. Office of those
and I recognize. I'm totally square, and at least I even recognize the name of at least one of the DJs that they hired. Like these are actually fairly well-known names.
BBC One guy, right?
The Zane Lowe guy, right? Yeah. So these are legit names.
They did have iTunes Radio already, so I don't know if that counts as content or not.
No, because
that's
iTunes Radio
like
is just iTunes Radio just plays. There's no curation in terms of a live DJ sitting at a desk and saying.
Were none of those with DJs?
No.
Okay.
So the thing that you said about it being expensive is true. However, we have 24 radio stations in San Francisco right now that do 24-hour round-the-clock music. So it's not like the reason it's expensive is because they hired the world's greatest DJs. Like they made a Batman-style super team, Justice League-style super team of DJs.
And I like the idea of there being of it being a global thing, right? That what you're listening to is what everyone in the world is listening to.
So
there's a cool factor to that.
See, that's the thing I don't like.
Why?
Because the thing that's made radio shitty is the homogenization of radio.
Oh, well,
and
this is one station, regardless of where they're playing it.
But now we're talking about the ultimate homogenized radio station.
No, but you could go the other way. If they're playing for a global audience, don't you think there's a larger chance that you'll hear music you wouldn't have heard otherwise?
I would love it if I tune in at 2:00 in the morning Pacific time and I hear like J-pop and K-pop and it's just like weird shit that I would never be exposed to otherwise. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I want to hear some Iranian hip hop.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, Norwegian death metal.
It's got to be out there.
Yeah, why not?
And I think you will be hearing. I think for the most part, it's still going to be, aimed at a mass Coca-Cola type market. But I also think there's a chance that you will hear stuff you wouldn't typically hear.
I hope it goes the other way and that it's a bunch of really interesting niches broken down into like hour or 2 hour chunks that cycle throughout the week.
Is it going to be a marketing vehicle for Apple
Yes.
products? Are they going to push new releases that are exclusive to iTunes?
I can't imagine.
I'm
they
sure.
are
I'm
not.
sure they will do that.
Yes.
Of course.
When
That's
you-
the whole point of having a global empire. One hand washes the other.
Let's see. Google added El Capitan to Street View.
What does that mean?
So El Capitan is a 4,000-foot face in Yosemite National
Yeah,
Park.
but when you say El Capitan these days, I get confused.
Well, this is the thing that the next version of the OS is named after, Gary.
Yes, but
That's
when
why
you
it's
say
confused.
Google adds El Capitan, for all, you could be talking about the OS functionality in
So
some way.
I don't
know.
think that they're going to have a little Street View guy walking around the desktop and the file system in your OS
No, but
10
it could have been a
machine.
story about how Google Street View now has extra functionality in that version of the OS.
It
or
is a
something.
confusing sentence.
That's true.
It's like people actually
Don't put this on me. You fucked up here.
I just read. I stole the headline from The Verge.
people noted now if you want to search for the Apple Swift programming language, you have to add a minus Taylor to that query now.
Oh, right.
There was a headline.
crufted.
There was a headline on one of the news feeds the other day on Twitter. It said, "Lego drops Big Bang Theory Lego set," and the way that I passed that was, they have decided not to do that. They've
Right.
dropped it.
Oh,
But they
no.
were trying to be cool and saying, "Oh, they've dropped it like they're dropping an album, like it's out now."
like a bomb.
That's the way you announce it. It's a drop is a synonym for release
Yeah.
and cancel.
And I wrote to them because I had nothing better to do, saying this is a confusing headline, and they changed it. They hit to pick, and they were like, "Oh shit, yeah."
Who wrote
Does
the headline?
I don't
What
know. It was
site
like Collider or one of these websites.
Okay.
They're trying to sound cool. Hey kids,
Yeah. Well, this is the problem. with
my
trying to sound
album is
cool.
dropping.
I got some hot beats, guys. Anyway, now if you want to go see what it's like to climb the face of El Capitan,
Yeah.
which is one of the more technically challenging climbs in the United States, as I understand it, you can do the 4,000-foot face in Street View.
No, I thought you meant they walked past it and added it to Street View.
No, you can. When you click on the thing, it goes up, and you click,
So
and
did
all of a
some
sudden
poor-
you're 3,000 feet
So
off
did
the
some
ground.
poor bastard have to climb all the way up there with a Google camera on his head?
I would assume that they either climbed or hoisted a Google camera. Like my guess is that they probably had a Google camera on the back, but I bet that there's a Google video showing how they
Why
made it.
does this have any functionality, or is this just a gimmick?
I mean, they add a lot of stuff to Google Street View because a lot of people, it's a way to see the world if they can't see the world.
For
No,
you-
and it's fascinating. It's fun sometimes just to kind of play around with Google Street View. But like,
Yeah.
if you were planning on climbing El Capitan, is this something that would be helpful to
No.
you? Okay.
why not?
I can't imagine you're going to have your Android phone on. It'll be like right hand up 6 inches, left 7.
I'm saying
grab.
before you even load in, before you head out there, this might be something you.
No, wait.
Oh,
to get to
yeah,
the top
yeah.
of El Capitan, do you have to physically climb it, or can you walk up there?
It's a sheer rock face. You have to climb. It's so high that you have to camp on tents that hang off the side of the cliff. If you don't like normal camping, you would not like this kind of camping either.
No, I like this even less.
Yeah. Because literally, when you look at pictures of people who are climbing El Capitan,
No, I've seen those tents.
they get like 1,000 feet up, and then they set up camp for the night. And
Isn't
setting
it-
up camp means
isn't it
dangling
what-
a tent.
That's what Kirk is climbing at the beginning of Star Trek V.
I
It's
think
either
he's
that or
climbing
Half Dome.
Dome.
Yeah, but either way.
Yeah,
I
marshmallows.
mean, I would want those Spock rocket boots. If you had those, I would do it.
Those don't exist.
But they will in the future.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, what about that Lexus hoverboard?
But that's on the list.
That's going to turn out to be bullshit. I'm
I
calling
can
it
go
now.
ahead and tell you right now, it's made for an ad. So it's
Yeah.
a one use only.
It's not real.
Of course, it's bullshit.
They built a.
Don't you think it was very telling that the second the guy stepped on it, they cut away? Because it can't actually support it.
Oh, no, it
anyone's
can't.
weight.
It's maglev. So it works just like maglev trains do.
Yeah.
There have been other magnetic hoverboards
Yeah.
before already.
No, so but what you're saying is it works, but it's not going to be a consumer
It
product.
is not a consumer product. It's just for a commercial.
But until I see a guy standing on it and it going along, I don't believe that it
I'm
actually
sure you will
works.
at the Super Bowl.
Well,
next
unless
year.
you have a metal surface to ride on. But
No.
who has that?
It has to be a mag. It's literally only rides across a rail of electromagnets that
Oh,
fluctuate
really?
the way.
But the
maglev
thing that
trains work.
in the commercial, they showed it just sitting on like a concrete
Well, it
ground.
can sit still. Yeah.
So?
And then the track energizes and it moves.
What
It
track?
moves it. So underneath
There's
the
a track
asphalt,
under there?
There's a track under
So
there.
they would have to build all these special tracks.
So do you know how maglev trains work?
I do know how maglev trains work. I'm just saying for this for the hoverboard to work, they would have to basically build a whole new transit system
Yes.
under the concrete anywhere you would want to go.
Do you want a hoverboard?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Have you ridden an electric skateboard?
No,
All right. Well, you got to try that.
I've never even ridden a Segway.
All right.
You should come down to Pacific. We'll do the Segway tour sometime. Yeah. The so the maglev train works by fluctuating the electromagnets, positive and negative, and it kind of makes an electromagnetic wave that the magnets on the train float forward. So there's no power on the train to speak of. It's just riding. It's just these super cool magnets that are riding along. This is literally the same thing, but in a hoverboard.
All right.
I would want the one that Biff has, the
rocket
powered one.
You gotta have a powered one to go
Yeah.
over water.
Yeah.
The thing I think about this is like if you had these superconducting maglev tracks underneath the sidewalk, and you had nitrogen cooled magnets on your shoes, you could conceivably just slot into the track and have it zip you along at 600 miles an hour.
Yep.
Seems like it might be a little unsafe.
How does braking work with maglev?
The same way as acceleration. It's
No
just,
kidding.
It's just the opposite.
The magnets are strong enough to slow it down?
pulse. Yeah, they pulse.
Huh.
They pulse. They change the frequency of the pulsing to pull less and push more or something.
But I wonder, can you stop as fast that way?
I'm sure you can accelerate exactly the same speed as you could. Like it's just acceleration. One is negative, one is positive.
You got to hand it to Back to the Future too. For even though they basically got everything about the future wrong, it looked great at the time. And there's probably no other movie or piece of popular culture like the real world has, like in terms of like life imitating art. You know, we got to 2015 and everyone's been saying for years now, where's hoverboards, where's power laces, where's my self-drying jacket? Like all those stupid things that didn't come around because they're not actually things that we need or want.
Yeah.
But we've convinced ourselves into thinking that we do want those things.
Yeah.
Because Back to the Future made it seem so cool.
They were still making Jaws sequels in the movie, and you just saw Jaws, the re-release.
Yeah, I just saw the
Yeah.
original Jaws for
it's
the
not
40th
Jaws
anniversary.
15.
No.
Right.
So, you know, it's interesting. They got a lot of stuff wrong, you know, by picking easy targets. Like, oh, well, they'll probably be flying cars.
2001. Maybe.
Everything will be in 3D.
What about
I
2001?
mean,
We don't
that
have
is
the
true,
space
but it's all
station.
shite.
Yeah.
What's that?
2001. We have video phones. You know, we don't have the space station. We
but
aren't
it's
going to
interesting, isn't
Jupiter.
it? The big thing that really changed everything, which was like the connected computer in your pocket that
Yeah.
people now just walk around staring at. That was the biggest thing, and that's what they missed.
No, everybody missed that. William Gibson missed that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Nobody
you look
saw
at
it.
Neuromancer, nobody has phones. They all
Yeah.
use payphones. Right?
It's interesting, isn't it? That do you think our ability to predict the future, like say 50 years ahead, is any better than like you always see these articles from like there was a thing the other day from like the 1930s, and like this is what people will be wearing in the year 2015 or 2030, and of course it was all like aluminum foil and just like a very kind of amateurish basic guess at what like future fashion might look like. But even as we try to imagine the future now, like 50 years ahead. Do you think that 50 years from now we'll look back on the movies of today and go, "Oh my God, how could we have got it so wrong?"
I think
or
it's-
as we get more advanced, does the margin of error of predicting the future get narrower?
Have you ever borrowed a book from thousands of miles
Are
away,
you doing the AT&T thing?
Yeah.
across the country,
Gesture ahead. Take next.
without stopping for directions?
This one actually wasn't far off. The
They-
AT&T ones, they actually got
all of
pretty
them are
good.
right.
Yeah.
Like they're all true. Buy stadium tickets from an ATM. All the stuff that they said is 100. Tuck in your kid from across the country. All
Wow,
of
that
stuff you can do
robot
today.
arms thing was going a bit far, though.
You could make the robot. We have seen the robot arms that are fully articulated.
But that
robot
was the
arms
point.
now.
People were like, that is actually creepy. Like,
When
in
did
a
it air?
movie version,
$1993.
those robot arms end up strangling your kid.
83?
93. So this was at the end of the Ma Bell era. This was like when they were getting broken up, like for real, for all time. These commercials ran, and there were 7 of them, and almost everything that they predicted in those has 100% come true because it's all based on the idea that the semiconductor is going to unlock tons of potential.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Gary,
Yeah.
I think that no, that it's more difficult now than it ever has been before to predict what 10 years in the future is going to look like. Simply because not just is the technology getting more capable, but the pace at which the technology gets more capable is increasing.
What's interesting as well, isn't it, is that when you see movies that are set in the future and someone's walking down a street, you like the future is very evident, right? Like you've got these futuristic skyscrapers and flying cars and people wearing wacky fashions because they need to. The film needs to express to you visually the world has changed, it's moved on. But in reality, 2015 doesn't, like, if you're just walking down the street, it doesn't actually look that different than the 1980s. The buildings are basically the same. The cars are a bit more modern in their design. People are walking around staring at their phones, which again is the big change.
We're still wearing graphic T-shirts.
Yeah. We're still wearing shitty
Right.
T-shirts.
The screen printing's better.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Like the changes are more in the way that we live our lives and our habits and the things that we do than anything that's like manifest just from like looking down the street.
Well, the change is that in 1985 in my house, we had 2 telephones and 1 television and a microwave. And that thus, and I don't think we had an NES then. We had a TI-99 4A that got used maybe twice a month. And the the explosion of technology that we touch on a day-to-day basis is the big thing that's changed.
It's
But
I mean,
kind of
back to
invisible, a lot of it.
RoboCop obviously has got some interesting ones as well. Like artificial hearts, they weren't far off. Other things that they did.
That had happened by the time RoboCop came out. The Jarvis one was a real thing in like the mid '80s, and RoboCop was what, 86 or 88?
Well, yeah, but the idea of like just being able to like pick one off the shelf and get yourself a better heart, obviously,
Right.
and other things they didn't get right. But Back to the Future 2 is just such a fascinating case study because I think it was like one of the biggest. It was such a central gimmick of the movie. It was like here's all these cool things that you might have in the future, and maybe they're cool, maybe they're actually kind of messed up. But predicting millions of TV channels was correct in one sense, but the idea that you would just watch them all at once, remember,
was insane.
They
Yeah.
were, and they still had faxes.
Yeah.
Which
Didn't
I
have
thought was
email or any of
great.
that stuff.
No,
Anyway,
they had video chat.
the rehydrating pizza.
No, but I think you're right. It's like as we become more technologically advanced, you could argue that we get better at predicting what the future might be because we know we have a bigger base of knowledge. But also, as the technology continues to exponentially explode,
Think about the adoption
it becomes
rate.
harder to imagine what the next big breakthrough will be.
I don't think you have to look as far into the future as you used to in order to imagine big changes. So like there's some near future sci-fi books by Daniel Suarez that are pretty awesome, where he talks about like where drones are going to be as they become more weaponized and autonomous. Or the most recent book that he wrote talks about an underground society where that has developed a lot of advanced sciences and technology that the rest of the world just isn't ready for. But they are like this shadowy wing of the government.
Well, I got to read that one.
Yeah, it's very good.
What's it called?
I always forget. It's I'll
Daniel
look it up.
Suarez. Just
Yeah.
look up his most recent book. Did you guys hear about the rogue pooper? The
DNA test thing.
Do you know about rogue poopers? It's a thing.
I don't know.
Many companies have problems with people who like to poop in inappropriate places, whether that's all around a toilet stall or, in this case, in the middle of a warehouse. They would just find a piece of human feces.
What?
Yeah. So the company who owned the warehouse went on a hunt that ended up with DNA tests for 2 employees to see if the poop DNA and the human DNA matched. It ended up not matching, but the employees sued and ended up getting fined $2.2 million.
Yeah, constitutionally,
for
that's
invasion of
not
privacy.
that's unlawful
It's against
search
the
and
rules,
seizure,
yeah.
right?
It's not about unlawful search and seizure. It's just a violation of privacy, and it's not something that you're allowed to do to your employees. But I think it's one of the first case studies about poop and about DNA test in the workplace, which is why it's interesting.
Right.
Rogue pooper.
Did you see that the Warner Brothers pulled Arkham Knight, the PC version of the new Batman game?
Yes.
Because
I did.
performance is so bad.
I didn't download it because it was reportedly bad, and then I wanted to after they took it away.
So it runs okay on my machine, but I have a pretty hefty video card and PC. I understand that the performance problems are really bad for a lot of people. And it's interesting because this happens a couple of weeks after Steam started doing refunds. This is, I think, what Steam refunds are for, right? You bought a game, it doesn't work right. You should be able to get your money back. That is totally fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
Logan Decker, one of the former editor of PC Gamer,
Like you.
yes, much like myself, has one of the great all-time pieces of wisdom. This should just be chiseled in fucking granite, and it's just simple. Just don't buy PC games at launch ever.
Don't
Just
buy any games at
just
launch.
don't.
I mean, it used to be don't buy PC games at launch, but now
It's
console
wor-
games launch broken
it's-
as shit too.
That's generally true. I think it's more true. I think you could condense it down. It's more true with PC. I mean, the if you look at Batman,
Yeah.
the Xbox, all the console versions are stable. The PC version is a fucking nightmare.
Well, I mean, that comes down to consoles versus PCs in general. I mean, at least with consoles, they have one platform to develop for.
Yes, they have one standardized set of
driver
hardware.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But now, when I talk to people who get pre-release games, like and are reviewing games on, because it used to be that when you reviewed console games, you reviewed the game on the disc, right? Because that's the game that people are going to play.
Yeah.
Now you can't even do that because there's always a day one patch.
one
Is that
patch,
not the case anymore?
Always day one patches.
Yeah.
There's always day one patches.
So that's permissible. You're allowed to include day one patches in your review.
well, no, most people just either.
I don't know how they do it because presumably they don't have the day one patch when they're
Yeah.
reviewing it ahead of time.
Well, sometimes they do, but like Polygon is now changing their reviews if the launch goes badly. Like they're issuing.
I mean, I don't think there's
tentative
anything wrong
reviews.
with the idea of a day one patch, right? I mean,
No.
If you've got to ship the game, there's a couple of things you just don't have time to do, but we will have them it will be ready by the time people have the game. That's fine. But when something like Batman PC ships in an utterly broken way in the middle of what has already been a very long ongoing conversation in video games about it is unacceptable to ship AAA or any games, but especially these big, expensive AAA hyped games in a fundamentally broken way.
And it's usually the big AAA. The people who make small games generally make sure
That is
fixed
utterly
before they ship
unacceptable.
them.
And what's unacceptable is is looking at like when Warner Brothers issued their thing and said, "Oh, we're terribly sorry, we're gonna withdraw this and give you refunds." It's not like don't be fooled. There's no way that Warner Brothers was surprised by this. They absolutely knew
Right.
they were shipping a broken product, and they were clearly just hoping that it wouldn't be that bad. So, oh no, but it'll be all right. Don't worry. And we know it's broken, but we have to ship it. We can't miss our date. It'll be fine. Don't worry. We've got a plan in place. But they knew that they were shipping a busted game.
Well, I mean,
and that is fucked.
UB knew that when they shipped Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
last year. You know, it's nobody's surprised.
Jeff Gersman had a great comment, I think yesterday, when he said somewhere in the Warner Brothers, Rocksteady, whatever it is, in that whole development publishing apparatus, there's someone with a very smug look in their face with their arms folded, saying, "I fucking told you."
Oh yeah.
Right, because those people were saying that and being ignored.
And that's the problem. I mean, I would hate to be those guys. Not only do they get the brunt end of all of the ridicule here for releasing a bum game, but I wouldn't want to be them having to fix these bugs. I mean, that is computer game development is a house of cards. And when you're talking about the PC, it's exponentially more complicated.
It's disrespectful to the customer. You're basically being played for a chump. You're being asked in good faith to spend $50-$60 on something that the seller knows,
Or way more if you bought the
broken.
limited edition.
And it's disrespectful for the developers as well. Like these guys, right? They put their heart and soul into making something for years, and by all accounts make a great game. Like you look at the console reviews, it's a great game.
From what I played so far, it is amazing.
But now this
Really?
is
Really good.
now the story that's taken over. This is all they're seeing. So it like the whatever euphoria or relief or triumph they should be experiencing as the culmination of all their labors that they've made this great thing. What they get instead is all this bullshit because the company is too greedy or
too much of a hurry.
disrespectful of its customers to say, you know what, you're right. Let's hold it for 2 more weeks and we'll ship the right version of the game.
Yeah,
it's unacceptable.
too short-sighted. It's Influx is the name of the book by Daniel Suarez.
Did they say when they're going to re-release?
No,
No.
they just said they're working on it.
So there'll be a patch presumably in coming weeks, and then it'll be
I mean,
the
you know,
same
the
again.
only credit you can give them is that they did completely fall on their sword. But I'm telling you, this is the same discussion that happened at Apple. They sat around a room and said, what can we, like, we realized there wasn't like some act of contrition that happened in their boardroom where they went, oh my God, this is terrible. We've disrespected our customers. We have to make this right. They're sitting there with their PR and marketing people saying, this is terrible. This is hurting us. We have to fix this. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of shit. And so that is why they've fallen on their sword the way that they have, because the narrative against them was overwhelmingly bad.
As with many people,
This is damage control.
as with many things, Chuck Palahniuk nailed this in Fight Club 15 years ago, right? 20 years ago, when Tyler Durden explains to what's his name,
Edward Norton.
yeah, Edward Norton. You don't know his you don't know his
name
name.
of the guy.
Yeah, I was like, wait, he doesn't have a name, does he? He explains to him how car recalls work, right?
Right.
It's like, look, if the amount of money that we're going to lose by getting sued because we killed people is less than the amount of money the recall will cost,
They don't do the
then
recall.
we'll just not do the recall.
Yeah.
And this is the exact same thing.
Yeah. And in fact, we in fact saw that exactly that with GM
Yeah.
several years later. That
Yeah.
really happened.
It happens. That is a true thing. That is not.
How do these
yeah.
people sleep at night?
I assume on a bed full of money, pillows full of cash.
Yeah,
Disgraceful.
it's just metrics to them.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you hear about the Uber protest in Paris?
Yeah, burning tires.
Yeah. So
What a mess.
the cab drivers apparently getting a cab. First, we should start with this.
Now talk about a company with an image problem.
Yeah, well, getting a cab license
I don't think
in
it's that pervasive.
Paris is hard, right? It costs a lot of money. Can cost
I wouldn't know.
up
Is
to
it
a €250,000 euros or francs or something like that. It's insanely expensive
€250,000
to get a cab license.
Oh, to get a license.
To get a
I thought it was
license.
just to get a cab.
No, no,
I'm like,
no.
my God, that's expensive.
So it's a one-time charge, and I think the goal is to make it so that you don't just start being a cab driver for 3 months and then like treat that as your
Right,
summer job or
right.
something. Like being a cab driver is a way of life in France.
Yeah, and it's the same in London. My dad was a London cab driver, and you not only is it's not that the license is expensive, but you have to go through a very, very rigorous and highly regulated training process.
Yeah.
You have to basically learn every route in London. They call it the knowledge, and it takes years to do.
Yeah, I heard
and they rigorously test you. If you go to London, you'll sometimes see people driving around on little mopeds or little bikes with a clipboard on the front. Those are trainee cab drivers doing what they call the knowledge, which is learning by basically building a GPS inside your brain. Where I used to do that. My dad used to do it. He used to bring home the routes, and you would say, okay, take me, and you'll go and see the instructor, and he'll say, okay, take me from Manor House to Euston Square Station, which is a route that involves, many lefts and rights and roundabouts and things like that. And you have to recount that like a human GPS and know exactly, just recall exactly the
Like
route in
names
your
of
head.
streets, or
Yes.
like take the
left
third
here,
right?
here. You have to do all. You have to do it all from memory.
I wonder if that's still the case.
Yes.
It is still the case.
Even though GPS is
GPSs have made
ubiquitous.
it easier, but you still have to do the knowledge. And the whole point is that as a branding exercise, you have the assurance of knowing that if you get into a black cab in London, a properly licensed one by the carriage office, that taxi driver knows what he's doing, knows where he's going, knows the city like the back of his hand, is not going to get lost.
He's an expert.
Yes, he's an expert
driver.
He's not a guy that's going to have to rely on a GPS or ask you directions or get it wrong or get lost. That's part of the deal. That's part of their branding, is that when you get in a black cab, the driver knows what he's doing, because he wouldn't have that badge, that license, if he hadn't passed it a very thorough test.
So the cab drivers in Paris and France have blockaded the road to the airports and the train station. They are posing as Uber passengers and then taking the drivers to off the beaten path areas, taking them out and beating them.
What?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Don't
like
mess
it's-
about with the French.
You don't mess around with French cab drivers. That's the takeaway here.
So they don't like the Ubers coming in unregulated, unlicensed and
yeah.
stealing their business.
It's specifically unlicensed, because if you invest, presumably you borrow a lot of money if you want to be a cab driver and then pay that off over a long period of time, because I don't
Right.
know who's going to have $250,000 to get a cab license otherwise. And this is impacting.
But we're
their
seeing this all
business.
over the world, right? We see it in London, we see it in New York, anywhere where there's a big taxi cab market, anywhere Uber comes in, the taxi drivers don't like it. We've seen it in San Francisco.
Well, Uber worked in San Francisco because the taxi market is terrible here.
It is
like,
terrible.
We never have enough cabs.
No, and they
to
usually
demand.
don't know where they're going.
It is one of the worst cab cities I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get cabs when you need them. You call them and they don't come, or they pick up somebody else, or they're just shitty in general.
Is there Uber in London?
I don't think there's Uber in London.
The worst cab city in America is, of course, Los Angeles, and Uber does very, very well there
Right.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Like San Francisco, anywhere between, like, if I walked out on the street here now, and we're obviously in a fairly, kind of downtowny type area, I'd be waiting anywhere between 0 and 10 minutes for a cab, is my guess. I could get one
usually
immediately.
20 here, is my experience.
In New York City and in London, it's always 0.
Yeah.
There's literally, it's actually amazing. I was back in London recently. It's like there's literally always a cab instantly there. They are just everywhere. And it's true of New York as well. And obviously they stand out because they're either big black special design vehicles or they're yellow cabs. LA is a nightmare. I mean, you can literally stand around
you
all
have to
day.
call.
You have to call, and then there's no even guarantee it will show up.
Yes.
So Uber in LA is brilliant. In cities where there is a bird, I actually don't even know how Uber functions in New York City, because the cab market is so saturated. It's like, why do you even need an Uber?
So when we've gone to New York, usually we use cabs. We use Uber to go from the airport to the airport when we have to make sure we get a big car to carry a bunch of luggage and stuff like that.
Okay.
But usually when I'm in New York, I don't even take cabs. I just take the subway because it's easy.
What is the solution to the Uber taxi cab wars?
Well, I mean, the other thing about Uber that happened recently is that California Board of Labor said that that Uber drivers are employees,
Right.
And that changes the entire economic underpinnings of Uber.
That's bad for Uber. Uber didn't want that
It's
decision.
not just bad for Uber; it's bad for all of the stuff, all of the like new economy kind of time sharing stuff, like Postmates. What's the
where you can just
what's the handyman thing? The one where you just call somebody and they'll do something for you. TaskRabbit.
We use Instacart a lot, which is where people do your grocery shopping for you and bring you your groceries.
All of that stuff that potentially jeopardizes all of those businesses.
Right.
And I think that there will have to be a happy medium.
That's going to have to get sorted out, right? Because there's a lot of employment that is coming through those
kind of,
avenues.
though. I mean, a lot of it skirts the normal stuff. So, what that means is that those companies don't pay for Social Security and unemployment and all that kind of stuff that like my company pays for me, and it changes the structure for all those businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it actually was a big issue in the UK elections. They think they call it something else here, but in the UK they're called 0 hours contracts, where you essentially you technically have a job, but there's no guarantee of you being given any work, and you only get paid when you do the work.
Well, so yes, we don't have that. We don't have that here. We have basically in California, especially if you want to hire somebody part time, like there's all sorts of rules and regulations. For example, you can't hire somebody part-time to do something that a full-time person would do. So if you need like a person and a half, you either have to hire 2 people or 2.
But companies will always find a way to skirt around this. Like, look what happened with Obamacare, right? Where suddenly everyone's on a 39-hour-a-week contract because that extra hour would get them the health care the company doesn't want to pay
Well, but
for.
that already happened in California because 39 hours is or 29 hours was the cutoff for part-time versus full before you have to start paying benefits.
Right.
So anyway, Hulu Plus users are going to get Showtime, the standalone cable cutter Showtime, at a discount. So it's $9 instead of $11. It's not much of a discount, but that's nice. And then the Showtime stuff will come through Hulu. You don't have to have a separate app, which is nice.
Oh, I see. I don't like Hulu.
I'll be interested to see if the Showtime stuff has ads on it when you play it through Hulu.
Well, that's my biggest problem with Hulu. It's the only streaming video service. Amazon doesn't do this. Netflix doesn't do this. HBO doesn't do this. You pay a premium.
Yep.
You pay the same basically you pay for Amazon or Netflix or HBO, but you still have to watch ads.
No kidding.
And not just ads like when you. So on HBO Go, which is what I get.
HBO Go and Netflix both have ads too, but they're ads for HBO and Netflix content.
I haven't seen any Netflix ads. When you like last night, I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I had never seen. It was on
the
HBO.
new one?
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was on HBO. And before the movie started, I had to watch a 30-second preview for True Detective.
Yes.
Which is fine. That's what you do if you just watch HBO anyway. They always have little previews. Hulu, though, is like paying to watch commercial network television. They will actually cut into the shows, commercial breaks in the middle of the shows. And I'm not paying for that. I pay to not have to put up with that.
Are they placed at commercial break
Yes.
points?
Yes.
Yeah. So they
And it's even more annoying because it's always the same fucking ad.
That's the problem.
You end up watching the same ad 5 times during the course of a show, and actually, I'd love to see some research on this, but like I end up hating that product. I'm less likely to buy it.
that is my experience in the old days with Hulu. They used to do a thing where you could just watch one 90-second ad at the beginning,
Right.
And that was all you'd see for the length
I
of
wish
that
they would
show.
bring that back.
That was great. Now you see 3 30-second ads that are usually the same. But like if you don't want to pay for cable, it's one of the only options.
If I were cutting the cord, I would add Hulu
Yes.
in because there is stuff there that you're not going to get any other way. But as it is, I would rather just I can just get it basically on demand television or whatever. If I'm paying for my Comcast TV package, Hulu's not adding anything for me. Oh, except all the Seinfeld episodes in the wrong aspect ratio, apparently.
Wait, what?
So you know
cropped
there
them?
was a big deal where they added Seinfeld and paid a lot of money because really, where can you watch Seinfeld if not Hulu? It's not like it's on every
we
fucking
don't all have
night.
TBS.
Yes, you
Anyway,
do.
Okay. Anyway.
You do. Everyone. That's why Conan did his deal with TBS is because every single basic cable package comes with TBS.
It was a joke.
Everyone has it.
So what? They crop the top and
And
bottom.
it's on syndicated network television every single night.
So do they crop?
Apparently, I don't know exactly the details, but it's a similar problem to they had with The Simpsons on FXX, where the aspect they've either
Stretched.
I think they've either taken it and stretched it, which TBS HD already does. They take it and they stretch it out.
No.
Yeah, to fill the gap.
That's horrible.
I have my DVD set, and you just watch them the right way. But yeah, wrong aspect ratio apparently. How do companies still keep getting this wrong?
It's the lowest common denominator. People complain if it's not
They don't
filling up
like
their
their
TV.
they don't like their black bars.
Yeah, exactly. And they say something's wrong.
And they really don't like the black vertical bars. Like they've gotten used to the black horizontal bars, but
Right.
the black vertical bars freak everybody
Yeah,
out.
it freak them out.
Yeah. So
Yeah. But it's an easy thing to point out. This used to be the shape of your television.
I know, but people are idiots.
Oh, there should be a PSA before everyone. So it explains that to them.
Well, you remember when they started doing widescreen VHS tapes? They used to have that. Like my VHS of Independence Day
Yeah.
had a.
Oh yeah, it says you're going to see black bars.
Look, you're going to get
To preserve-
more
yeah.
picture,
Right.
Yeah.
even though it feels less screen.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched Brother Bear the other day, which is a 2003 Disney film.
The last of the traditional animated Disney films.
It was, yeah, and the whole first half hour is a different aspect ratio. It's actually is smaller than the width and the height of your screen.
Really?
And I thought, well, God, someone at Netflix really screwed this one up.
What's on Netflix?
Yeah,
Never seen it.
streaming.
It's a fascinating period in history.
I'm not done with my story.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
A half hour into the movie, it transitions to widescreen.
So it's like the Wizard of
Why do
Oz,
they
black
do
and white to
that?
color.
It's because it's the same reason. Yeah, I don't want to ruin the story, but something changes, and you get a whole new perspective on the movie.
It's interesting. It's gone away now because of we have the right shape TVs. You can show a
Close.
closer. You
Yeah.
can basically see a whole movie, without having to pan and scan. But remember back in the days when we had square 4x3 TVs, and you would either get the letterboxed version. You remember there used to be 2 versions,
That's right, that's
the DVD, there'd be a letterbox
Yeah.
and what they called full screen or whatever. But full screen was, of course, you were seeing less of the picture. And I always thought it must have been really interesting to do that job where you're not the director of the film, but you're sitting there, okay, well, this character's speaking on the left and now this character's over here, and they would usually all be in one screen, but they basically have to add fake camera moves to
Yeah.
accommodate
Pan
the
and
fact
scan.
that, pan and scan. And that, like I said, that's gone away now, but I always used to be, always found it annoying when people would buy like the full screen version of the...
I used to get righteously indignant about that.
Because you can understand how people would be fooled by it, thinking that
Well, I don't
they were
want-
getting more
I
picture,
want
but
my
they were
screen
actually
film.
were getting less.
Yeah. Well, they were getting more picture, but they were getting less movie.
And of course, you would see it. Talk about aspect ratio changing through the movie. You would see it in a lot of pan scan movies that were just on TV. You would notice the opening titles would often be letterbox because there was no way around it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And then, like for example, if you ever watch the opening of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, even in a pan and scan, that opening, because the titles go way across the screen, they can't do that.
Well, in the old
And
days,
so they have to letterbox it. And then there's this weird thing that happens when it goes into full frame. Once they can fill the whole frame, they'll cut away from the letterbox.
Or they'll squish it. Like I remember at the end of Romancing the Stone, for whatever reason, that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. At the end, when they're driving down the road in the boat, it's like super skinny because they had to squish the whole thing in.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that Spider-Man, they're rebooting Spider-Man again? He's joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Civil War and getting his own movie?
Could not be less interested.
They're getting the kid from Billy Elliot.
I liked...
What?
Yeah, he's Spider-Man.
I like Marvel and I like what they're doing. I just never really cared for Spider-Man. And I think it's a character that's been massively... How many movies have they had in the last 10 years? Like
5.
6? 5 or 6?
5.
5.
I look forward to seeing how they explain his absence in the previous films.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he'll just be bitten by a radioactive spider between Avengers 2 and the events
They're
of Civil
not. I'm
War.
pretty sure they're not doing the origin again because we all know it.
God, I hope not. He's bitten by a radioactive spider, man. If everybody in the fucking planet knows
We all
that,
know.
right?
We all know.
Like,
It's-
sweet, merciful Jesus.
It's actually one of those things that I'm fairly grateful for is that if you look at the way that they're dealing with well-known superheroes now, they don't do the origin anymore. That Man of Steel, I think, was the last one. Because if you look now at Batman versus Superman's not going to do the origin. Like you just assume, okay, we know these characters. Like they're not.
Wait, how did Batman get his powers?
Well, so so the Batman in Batman Superman, they're not doing the. Actually, I don't know if they're going to do it as a flashback or whatever. But I mean, what is the point? We all know
It's old
that he
Batman,
got
though,
bitten
isn't
by
it?
a radioactive bat.
Yeah.
Like
It's just
everyone
the way it
knows
works.
that.
It's science.
Everybody knows.
Science fact. I thought his superpower was he was really rich. I like the way they handled it for the new characters in Avengers. They gave you like tiny little flashbacks. So you kind of know, oh, right, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, experimented on by somebody.
Yeah.
Boom, we're out.
Well, aren't they setting those up for their own movies?
Well, Scarlet Witch, no, because she's female.
I mean, you're still going to
Quicksilver's
see a lot of
well,
origin
spoilers.
stories. Anytime it's like a less than well-known character, like, Marvel's got, Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Ant-Man coming up. Like, all those movies are going to be origin stories because most people don't know who
A
those
good
characters
origin
are.
story is okay, though. Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of an origin story, too.
Yes, it was. It was how the team came together.
Yeah.
But no, I think if it's the top, this maybe only applies to the top characters: Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. At this point, nobody needs to see the origin story again. We've seen it so many times. I don't know how many more times I can see Bruce Wayne, young kiddie Bruce Wayne, sitting over his dead parents in an alleyway. I get it.
Right. He's sad. It fucks him up for life.
Yeah.
He's going to want to punch people in the face.
Yeah.
Totally good. I'm excited about Spidey being in Civil War. I think that'll be good. I think Spidey is an important part of Civil War. Hawaii raised the smoking age to 21. And
I
they
read,
blamed
by the way,
vaping
I
for
read
that.
Civil War recently.
Yeah.
I hadn't read it.
It's good. Did you not like it?
No, I liked it. It's just it's one of those ones where because I read Winter Soldier recently as well, just because I like the movie a lot. I'm curious to see.
Is it a graphic novel?
Winter,
It's like you got to
Civil
buy a
War.
run.
they were like 5 or 6 issue runs that then got turned into the
Well,
graphic
but
novels.
also Civil War tied into everything. So it's like there
was a lot of
there's
spin-offs from
X-Men
Civil War.
versions, issues that tie into Civil War. There's Spider-Man issues that tie into Civil War. There's Fantastic Four issues that tie into Civil War. All of that stuff you have to like. If you want to get the whole picture, you got to read it. It's hard to even figure out what the fucking order
But it's
is.
interesting how much like for example, Winter Soldier is vastly, vastly different from the comic.
Oh yeah.
Like apart from the Winter Soldier character, there's almost like none of the Hydra stuff is in the comic. It's all completely different.
The Nick Fury, like all of that's not in.
Yeah,
Winter
they took
Soldier.
that. All that's different. And Civil War, I'm looking at that, and again, just because of what we know about how the way licensing, like Civil War basically has the entire Marvel universe shows up at some point or another. Marvel don't have that luxury. Like the X-Men are in Civil War.
The
They
X-Men
can't be in
don't
the movie.
exist in MCU. So
Right.
you know how MCU works, right? I just found this out a few weeks ago.
Yes,
The
if
Marvel
it's
Cinematic
a
Universe-
mutant, it's not in the MCU.
Right, but the MCU in terms of canon is just another one of the spin-off universes, like the Ultimates universe and like the Zombies universe and all the spin-off universes.
Yes,
in
and
the
of course
MCU.
that's something they very cleverly came up with, to the fact that they
Yes.
can't reconcile all their contracts.
Yeah,
And that as long as Fox continues to make Fantastic Four and X-Men movies,
Yes.
Marvel can't get them back.
right.
And Marvel does not like that.
I think
course
they're
not.
probably unhappy about that because
They're very
X-Men. I mean, Wolverine. Think of how awesome it would be to have Wolverine in Avengers movies.
It would be wonderful. I mean, just the Spider-Man breakthrough with Sony. I mean, that I think came out of desperation. Is that
Thanks,
Sony
North
were like,
Korea.
Sony had this, what was supposed to be their crown jewel Spider-Man, and they couldn't figure out how to make money on it.
Yeah.
So like, oh, we should probably let Marvel help us out.
Well, but you look at the money that Fox makes off of Marvel, off of X-Men versus Avengers, and like by that standard, Fox isn't making money off of X-Men either.
No, Fox is doing much better with X-Men
That's
than Sony ever did with Spider-Man.
That's true. Okay. We got a couple of things. We're almost out of time. Hawaii raises the smoking age to 21, and they're blaming vaping for that. I thought that was interesting.
Does anyone vape tobacco?
Yeah, they all vape tobacco.
I didn't know that.
That's when you see people out in the street vaping. They're not. It's not like they have some designer fancy drug. It's mostly like nicotine in.
Yeah, it's just in a
in-
different form.
I didn't think it was a designer drug.
forms.
I thought it was marijuana.
Well, here maybe.
No.
Oh, okay.
Can
If
you
it smells like
can you
marijuana?
vape marijuana?
Oh yeah, people vaping marijuana for years.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Well,
You know, my clean living lifestyle. I mean, this is also
it's true.
this is all just stuff that happens in movies.
No piracy, no drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see
Will over there hitting the bong and stealing his neighbor's HBO.
That's what I do?
It's only a matter of time before the FBI come in one of those battering rams, take the
So-
door down,
So the thing about the HBO Go thing is that people.
sitting there like Brad Pitt in True Romance.
Hey man, I'm just Floyd. What? God, if I look like Brad Pitt in True Romance, do you think I'd be sitting here? The thing about HBO Go is that there was a survey that said kids were going to college and using their parents' HBO Go sign-in still. And
I mean,
then
that's a
HBO
common
didn't give
practice,
shit.
isn't it? And people,
Right.
yeah, and HBO basically acknowledged it and said, yeah, fine.
It's fine, whatever. They'll pay eventually. Did you see the resurgence of that mid-90s local news story about VR? Like it was for the what was it? The Dactyl Nightmare game, the thing
Oh,
you'd go to the
God.
arcade and
Those
play.
are so bad.
They had a local news guy. There was a study that came out that said that can affect your ability to drive and perform in the real world after that stuff kind of was not taking off, but kind of taking off.
I don't understand. Is it a good thing for you?
No, they were saying it was a bad thing.
bad
for
I
I
you.
still think there's
It's
a
really
whole
funny.
there is a whole mess of liability issues that are going to come out of it. I think VR is great. You know, I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big supporter of it. But I think there's a whole lot of liability waiting down the road for people that disappear into it. That for whom the lines between virtual and real reality are blurred.
Sure.
All kinds of stuff.
I started rereading Ready Player One on my camping trip because I hadn't read it since it came out, and I wanted to kind of get back in, get the VR brain going.
Mhm.
It's such a good book.
It's so fun.
I'm ready to get the couch, the full haptic couch, the suit, the whole thing. Just put me in a room. I'll come out once a week to say hi to the kid and the wife.
We're not that. I mean, at this point, we're not that far off.
No, 10 years,
Yeah.
maybe 20.
As a percentage, like so, I didn't get to do it, but you've experienced
All of it.
Oculus Touch, the Vive, all of that stuff. As a percentage, how far are we towards what is the Ready Player One experience?
I think what Palmer said in an interview last week, which is that like we haven't seen the iPhone for virtual reality yet. Like the things that we have now are the earliest precursors to
Right,
the iPhone. So
right.
they're the Pocket PCs and the Treos and the Palm Pilots and all that
right,
stuff.
right.
I think that's absolutely true. I think we're several generations probably away from something that would be considered.
But
a
as
mass
Jeremy
market
said,
product.
just to think what we'll have even 10 years from now is you can't even imagine.
And the software that they're running in Ready Player One took 10 years to develop. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
massive MMO.
Yeah.
I mean, and that'll start with something innocuous, like a chat room software or something like that. And then the last thing is that Apple, I'll post the link to that Alarmist TV report. It's pretty funny. The last thing is that Apple stopped selling the OG iPad mini, which means,
Oh, they did?
yep. So there's no non-Retina iOS devices that you can buy now. And there's only one non-Retina product line that still remains at Apple,
That's the MacBook Air?
the MacBook Air. Yeah. So maybe, I think they might still sell one of the MacBook Pros, like the 13-inch MacBook Pro.
So will they release
The
a
non-Retina
Retina Air or just get rid of it and use the new MacBook?
I don't know. We'll see. I think the new MacBook.
I think their MacBook line has honestly become a little bit confused. Where the MacBook is actually lighter than the one that's branded as the light one. It's weird.
We talked about that at length when that came out. But yeah, I think they've got naming issues. But ultimately, people don't give a shit about names. Should we play some music and talk about what we've been testing a little bit?
Sure.
I took my Kindle Voyage camping.
What's the Voyage?
Voyage is the 300 DPI screen.
It's the fancy high-end one.
the high-end
Although
one.
they just upgraded the Paperwhite to the same DPI.
Which now makes the Paperwhite literally the best ebook reader deal in the world.
And
It's $120 still, I think.
yeah, and doesn't it, like, what's the point of the Voyage now? What is
it
the
has
Voyage?
physical buttons on the side that aren't very good, and
No,
it's
I don't
a little
like
tiny
those.
bit smaller.
I feel like, I mean, I always feel this way because I'm an early adopter, but I feel like a bit of a sucker for buying the Voyage now because the main reason to get I don't love the buttons on the Voyage. The screen is great, but now the new Paperwhite has that screen too. That was the real reason to get it.
If you listened to us, you would have known not to buy the Voyage.
But I don't listen to you.
I know.
And on balance, I think I'm better off.
This is your mistake.
Like occasionally you might make the right call, but I think overall,
Occasionally.
I come out ahead by not listening to you.
I'm looking. I went to Amazon to find out how much the new Paperwhite cost, and then it had a Mad Max Fury Road pre-order for the Blu-ray.
Oh, did you pre-order it?
Well, I'm looking at it. I'm like, Blu-ray 3D, Blu-ray, DVD Ultraviolet for $35, or just Blu-ray for $24. No digital version. I think I'm getting the 24. I don't think I want 3D.
If it came with an iTunes copy, I would get it because that's the system I have at home. But Ultraviolet is so shit.
Ultraviolet's
it's not
a
worth
disaster.
having.
I don't remember the last time I bought a Blu-ray. It's all digital for me these days.
I just bought the Looney Tunes
I did too.
Platinum collections.
Which one? All three?
I had volume 1 already. I got volumes 2 and 3.
Is that the movies?
No,
No,
it's
just all the shorts. Roadrunner, Speedy Gonzales, Bugs Bunny.
I ripped all of them and put them on Plex, and it's like my daughter is like, watch Bugs Bunny. So like when we have 8 minutes to kill, and I want to put her.
They're not
TV.
they're not
Bugs Bunny's
considered
great.
suitable for kids today.
I filtered out the ones that are kind of racist because there are a fair number of them.
Yeah.
They're also kind of violent.
Yeah.
They're super violent.
They're nothing compared to the. So I bought the Tom and Jerry.
Tom and
collection.
Jerry is, of course, the ultimate in violence.
Tom and Jerry is both racist and violent. Like Tom and Jerry is awful sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Tom and Jerry, when you put the disc in, it has a disclaimer that said, "This does not represent the views. These are presented."
The Looney Tunes
only
have
as,
to say the same one.
Oh, really?
They have the same disclaimer. They say we present these in their original form because to change them and take them out would be to pretend there's prejudice never existed, which I think is the
right way to do
is
it.
the right attitude. But they basically say, yeah, you're going to see some racist shit here.
So the ones that are okay, anytime that you have a person in it, basically it's no good, except for Elmer Fudd or like a human, not Looney Tune character. You're in questionable territory. Like, but if like Sylvester, like Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, probably okay.
Yeah, Roadrunner, 100%.
Those are great.
All good.
Still pretty violent.
Those
but
are
funny.
and Roadrunner. Those are my personal favorites. I wish there was a Blu-ray of just all the Roadrunner cartoons.
Of course.
Those were my favorites.
Yeah, I love the Roadrunner.
That's all anybody would buy.
Me.
Yeah.
Just the best.
What have you guys been testing? Jeremy, you been in
Well,
anything? How's the new printer?
Yeah, I got the new PrinterBot Plus. And
Metal Plus, right?
Yeah, they just call it the PrinterBot Plus confusingly.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been pretty good for me. 2 weeks in, something's wrong with it where the belt started to slip.
Mhm.
And so where it prints is, like a millimeter off.
Like the layers slip.
Yeah, the layers slip, but it's weird, like slips mid-layer. So I wrote tech support about that. I got to fiddle with it. It's not something that I wanted to happen, having only owned it 2 weeks.
Yeah. Is it that the gear, the shaft on the gear is loosened? Because that happened to me on my Civil Metal.
Possibly. They also said it might be that I have to grease these rails. So these are a very big bed. It's a 10-inch bed, and the print area is 10 inches. So the bed is actually much bigger than that. And they both slide on these two little rails, and you have to grease them up. They say every 2 months.
Yeah, you just put a tiny dab of lithium grease on there and then run it back and forth. And
Lithium
that's enough to
grease.
do. I think it's lithium grease.
All right,
yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
It's like white lithium grease or something like
I'm
that.
hoping that solves it. I don't want to open it up. It's not as easily accessible, the gears and the rails and stuff, as the Simple was. Like, you can't lift it up. The bottom is enclosed.
Oh.
So I don't even know how to get in there. I'll figure it out. That's what I've been testing. Oh, and Simplify 3D, that new slicing software.
The $150 one?
Yeah.
Is it good?
I wanted good things from that. It's very, very fast. I guess the support material is very good, but it doesn't. I do Cura most of the time now because I've had a few things that actually printed better with Cura. I like if the model needs to be repaired, Cura does a better job repairing it for you without running it through NetFab or something like that.
NetFab is that Microsoft thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has fixed everything I've thrown at it.
It's handy, but since it's a website
slow.
it's very slow because everyone's using it. So yeah, I'd say stick with Kira. My
Gar-
mini review.
Gary, anything you want to talk about? You guys talked about the Apple Watch already. a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I do like my Apple Watch. I will say that in my ongoing effort to get a bit more fit because I have a very sedentary job and get a bit more active, the watch has actually, like, all the little trophies and gamification. It does help. Like, I've been going out and walking and jogging a little bit and doing more because I feel like there's a system in place to keep me active. So that's good.
I like the trophies. They're cool. And what I always wanted though was for you to be able to reach out and spin them. When they fly on the screen.
Maybe with 2.0.
You can. They announced that.
Oh, you can spin them around.
I'm very happy about that.
You can
Big
share
deals.
them on Twitter as well and do all that kind of stuff.
Great.
So I like that. It's funny. It's funny taking it out into the world where it's still so new. Like I went to the movies and did the passbook thing where you go boop, and the guy was like, "What just happened there?" And I was like, it's magic to them. And most people still don't know. Like, I will say, like you see an Apple Pay logo and I say, "Can I use that here?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know. No one's
Try
ever
it
done
and
it."
see.
And you do it, boop, and they go, it is like magic. So that's been fun.
Like I use Apple Pay. I've used Apple Pay at Whole Foods a few times, like either on the phone or the watch, either one. When we had a couple of flights in the last few weeks, and I did the watch. I did the passbook on the watch, to check in, and I felt like the biggest asshole in the world because it was fine at the TSA checkpoint where they have the scanner that faces up and you just rest it on top, and it's a little bit awkward, but it worked out.
Yeah.
When I got to the gate and you like the scanner faced down, so you slide your boarding pass under. It wasn't my. I
You
didn't
can't get
fit,
your arm in there.
so I had to either. Then I had to like pull my phone out, and like it was awkward. It was a bad social.
I do feel
interaction.
slightly douchey when I'm doing it. I try to do it as like inconspicuously
Yeah,
as
there's
possible.
no way to do it and look cool.
Just do it fast.
No.
I do it at Walgreens a lot because we always picking up stuff from Walgreens and
Yeah.
they support it. So beep.
See, we have Rite Aid and they don't. So
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned is, especially if you have a quasi-British accent like me and you're at McDonald's, don't ask about Apple Pay unless you actually want them to give you an apple pie.
Oh,
Because that
seems like a happy accent.
I mean, I was not unhappy to
You
get
ate
a
the pie,
McDonald's
right?
apple pie. Yeah, of course.
we gotta let this things cool.
I like
off.
the cherry ones better, but they're all good.
They'll really burn the hell out of you if you chomp
Yeah,
too
you gotta let
early.
them- you gotta let them cool
it
down.
cool off.
I love the Echo, of course. We talked about that
We
earlier.
talked about that at
That's been
length.
probably the thing that we've been testing the most around the house.
I took the Voyage. I also took a couple years ago. I tested out a little $15 light, like a lantern. It's something it's kind of like the Tom's Shoes model, where
It's like the old Brooklyn lantern.
I don't know what a Brooklyn lantern is.
The thing that I had that I got from TV.
No, it is much nicer than that. It's plastic and looks futuristic.
Oh, it's
not-
plastic. Oh, well, it must
Yeah.
be top quality.
Well,
then.
no, the point is, it's when you buy one, then they also give one to people in parts of the country where they primarily use kerosene lamps for light in their houses.
Yeah.
which are both a asphyxiation, a carbon monoxide, and a fire hazard. So it has a solar panel on top. You can plug it into a USB charger or something like that, because a lot of people have those because everybody uses them for their cordless phones, for their wireless phones. Cellular phones is the word I'm looking for. But it charges in like 4 hours worth of sunlight, and it'll run all night if you want it. And I took it camping with me. It's super nice. It was really good. It gave enough light to like illuminate the inside of the tent when we were tucking the kid in, or needed to come in. Really neat thing, and it's like $15. I'll post the links in the comments.
All right. I was very interested in your piece recently about waterproof Bluetooth speakers because I'm going to be in the market for one of those soon.
So, I think I can talk about this. Let me look and see.
Like a Bluetooth speaker you could take in the shower.
Yeah, or like have by the pool, or
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it getting splashed.
Yeah. So, Ultimate Ears just released. So you have the mini boom, right? The $99
Yeah.
boom. It's a great little speaker.
Yeah, and I actually, when my dad was out here visiting, he loved it so much that I got him an extra. He took it home and he loves it.
It's fabulous, but it was before the two newer models, the two bigger models, the full size boom and the super boom or Chirp Mega Boom, the big one,
Yeah.
are both water resistant. They have the same water resistance as the Apple Watch. I think it's IPX7
Yeah,
or something
I
like that.
definitely like that whole range. The boom range is very good quality.
Is that the one where you can use two of them to get stereo?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a nice feature.
Yes.
So they just announced the Roll, which is the successor to the Mini Boom, and it's like a puck size thing. It's about that big. It's domed on each side, convex on both sides, and it's waterproof. So and it's still $99.
Oh, might have to look into that.
And the neat thing is, if you have the newer ones, not the Mini Boom, but the Boom or the Mega Boom, you can pair those together so that you can have like, it won't be stereo because they're not the same speaker, but you can do basically like make a multi-speaker chain. It
won't be stereo.
So you have the same music coming out of all of your speakers. Like
Okay.
when you pair two of them together right now, you can use them as a pair, like times two, which is basically the same signal out of both ones. You can do a left and right channel.
And they're perfectly synced?
They're perfectly synced, they say. I haven't tested multiples yet, but it's they sent us one. It sounds really good. We'll do a show and tell for it soon.
Oh, so one other thing that I've been testing, people have been asking me about this. So for Father's Day, my wife got me I guess what's called a bath bridge.
Oh, I saw the picture of this.
Yeah, so she got it I've been looking for one for a while. So in our house that we bought last year, it had a really deep bath. It's one of the things that I like. You can really soak in this.
I would love to have it. It's
deep
nothing.
tub.
Nothing feels better in a drought than getting in a really extravagant bathtub.
Really deep bath, yeah.
Filling like 60, 70 gallons of water in there.
Yeah, and just leave it running after you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, just, 'cause
I mean, when it gets cool, fire up that hot water, warm it up. Don't conserve. I mean, it's okay.
so
Did the whole family bathe in this after you were done, or was it just like one person?
all
is
got
that something you used to do?
all
Like
got
people
fresh
going
water.
into someone else's bath
No, I
water
grew
after
up.
they were done?
I grew up in Northeast Tennessee where we had plenty of water.
Oh.
Yeah.
You tweeted a picture of yourself in your bathtub.
Right,
on
so
Father's Day.
so that was the picture. I was
Yeah.
very pleased with it.
I saw
It's one
that.
of my favorite Father's Day gifts. 'Cause I like to relax in the tub. I have a stressful life,
Clearly.
you know.
Clearly.
I have a lot of stress going on in my life. Work stress, life stress.
Yep.
Just general stress.
Having a 2-year-old alone. That's
Having a
enough to put stress in your-
three-nager, as they're
3-year-old.
known,
Yeah.
is nobody's idea of a picnic. And
I think probably somebody who has a 13-year-old would disagree. They would say having a 3-year-old is having a picnic.
No, 3 sucks.
three is
Good
worse.
to know.
They talk
Awesome.
about one of the things I learned from my wife is they talk about the terrible 2s, but 3 is much worse than 2.
My daughter has started when we want to change her diaper now, saying that it's her butt and she's allowed to have poop there if she wants. I'm like, great.
It's
I
a
don't know where you
fascinating
learned this,
insight
but-
into all acts of like defiance and arguing about. Like I said, I can't be time to go to bed now. It's daylight. All these it goes on and on
We
and on.
just
and
lock
on.
her in the room. Let her
So-
scream. It's
so-
fine. It works itself out.
So having a nice soak
Yeah.
in a tub,
Yeah.
as I think most people will agree, is a great stress reliever.
I heard that that's what 1% people do. Yes.
It is one of the few things that has basically prevented me from just getting in the car and just driving into the fucking ocean.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to do the gas at your house. You just put it in neutral and roll
Yeah,
down the
it's
hill.
not even that far. It's only
Yeah.
2 blocks away.
Yeah.
That's part of the
You're good to
danger for
go,
me.
yeah.
I should not live that close to the ocean.
It's a real danger zone. Okay, so while you're not suiciding into the ocean in your vehicle, like what's her name from well, hopefully leave your daughter at home. You have the soak in the bathtub. What's the tub?
So
bridge?
I like a nice a what? What's the tub? What?
Tub bridge? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so I like a nice soak in the tub, and unlike a shower where you just basically go in there, do your business, and get out. Like I'm rarely in the shower for more than 10 minutes. That's all it takes to kind of get all the necessary.
Again, thank you for conserving water in this time of
necessary
drought.
areas can be attended to. I feel inside 10 minutes.
I can do it in a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Can you?
Yeah, we have a timer.
Why do you have a timer?
Because there's a fucking drought on.
Are
We're
you
supposed to be
serious?
conserving water. Taking a 10-minute shower.
Are you also a practitioner of if it's yellow, let it mellow?
we
if it's
are
brown,
yellowing
flush it
and
down?
letting it mellow. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I can't handle that.
It's super gross. I am not a fan. I thought about putting a urinal in the garage just so I can avoid the yellow mellowing situation.
So
Anyway,
showers most of
10-minute
the
showers. What luxury.
To be honest with you, 10 is on the outside for me. But, because sometimes it's nice to stay in the shower.
Yeah.
It's like this little fortress of solitude where the world can't intrude.
Yes.
There's no problems.
It's true.
It's just in this little cube.
I put a speaker in there.
Yeah, so even my little mini boom, which isn't technically waterproof,
Yeah.
I can put it on the shelf and it'll play my music. I listen to some, relaxing music, listen to my meditation tapes.
I find a 90-second track so I know when my shower should be done. I don't know
Wow.
about you, Jeremy.
I have no time limit.
Okay.
And I shower twice a day.
Wow, really?
You
Yeah.
shower twice a day.
How do you keep from drying out? Jesus. What kind of profligate wastrels do we have on this podcast? What the next thing I know?
So is like when you get up in the morning before you go to bed at night.
I discovered that showering both helps me sleep and wake up. It's like a magic thing.
It is true. It is actually. You wouldn't think it would, but having a shower right before you go to bed is conducive to
So
sleep.
I sometimes will do the nighttime shower. Like if I've gone running or something at night, I'll do the nighttime shower and then just wet my hair in the morning, which usually ends up with me looking like a hobo when it's time to be on camera. When you guys notice and you're like, man, Will looks like shit today, that's always a nighttime shower. I have to do a morning shower.
Do
The
both.
takeaway.
See, the other thing to bear in mind is this is a cultural
Wow.
thing. England is more of more a nation of bathers than
right.
showerers.
My grandmother, who was English, was a notorious bather.
Right.
Yes,
So
always a bath.
I always enjoyed a bath
yes.
as a child, and as an adult, I still enjoy them.
Well, children, I mean, I give my child a bath.
A bath.
Yeah, bath. She gets a bath every
Yeah.
night.
And my daughter loves a nice bath.
Yeah, of course.
So
Who doesn't? I would love to have a nice bath.
yes.
I would just feel bad about it the entire time.
The only thing, one of the things, it'd be nice to have someone like like the idea of having a butler, like someone I can get my own
Trevor.
sandwiches or whatever, but the idea of someone drawing your bath for you.
It takes
So you don't have to like plan ahead. You don't have to check. Like you just walk into the bathroom. It's already been done. The water is at the exact right temperature.
I do that for my daughter every night.
It's hard to get the. There's got to be high tech baths that do this, right? It's hard to get the water temperature. Like, have you ever done this? Like you step into the bath, it's too hot. You just can't get in there right
Do you
now.
have two knobs on your shower?
No, just one.
See, if you have one knob, you just set it in the same place every night. It works itself out. Like when I give the kid a bath, I just know it's like 12.
No, I can
30 is the
eyeball it.
right
I'm like,
spot.
it's pretty much there.
Yeah.
But there's very little margin for error. Like the porridge has got to be just right before I'll commit to the bath.
When we
if it's too hot, then that's not pleasant. If it's too cool, and you might have used all the water in the hot water tank as well, so you can't
have-
make it hotter.
You have to air hotter. You have
Yeah.
to air
yeah,
on the
you
outside of
absolutely
can always get
you can
cold.
always add a little bit of cool.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I do now.
Back in the days when I was able to take a bath before the drought, I used to like to do the thermocline. So I'll make the top really hot.
But why can't you have like sous vide for people, where like it's the exact right temperature?
Well, you could hang your sous vide thing on the side of the bathtub.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
How long? But it would take ages to heat that up.
Well,
Wouldn't
you
it?
start it hot and then it just maintains. But then you also have to have a big electrical thing in the tub with you, which seems maybe a little bit unwise. I love the thermocline. So I love to get a layer of cold water on the bottom and then hot water on the top.
So you'll
And
start with cold water.
No. You start with hot water. You get it really hot, and then at the very end, you just put a dollop of cold water in and don't move at all. And you can feel like the bottom of your ass and your back will be in the cold water, and then above it will be in the warm water.
It is nice to
delightful.
feel the different layers.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of the things that the Romans had right, and it was fantastic. Have you ever been to the Roman baths in Bath?
Uh-huh.
They invented this, and it's incredible. It's a fantastic thing. It's one of the most, I think, refreshing.
Talking
and-
about cultures that benefit from slave labor.
when we were talking about
At the
that.
very beginning of the show. Back when we were
okay.
talking about Hitler.
Bath, England.
Yes.
Oh,
Home
Yeah,
of
I mean,
future
look, the
UK.
Romans obviously, they weren't perfect either. But as a civilization, in many ways, they were quite advanced.
Yes.
They invented plumbing and all
Roads,
kinds.
all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff.
roads, aqueducts.
So anyway,
But their thing that they were really into is like going to the baths was like a big thing for them, right? In terms of replenishment, and it was just like a part of their day. And what they did was, and if you've ever done this, it's fantastic. Is you go back and forth between the hot and the cold baths. That is fantastic. Like when you stay at a hotel and there's like a pool and a hot tub, I will often go back and forth because it's great to come from cold water into hot water and vice versa.
Gina and I stayed in a resort one time that had like the full spa, like the full spa.
Oh
the
yeah, I
Euro
love that. Get a
and
massage
Asian spa.
and yeah.
So it was
they
like-
whack you with fucking leaves and shit.
It was called Terme or something like that. Of
course
you had
it
like
was.
mud baths, and then you had some sort of alkaline.
And you can basically
bath.
spend the whole day there, getting
yeah.
treatments and just hanging out by
some-
the pool.
You lay on a table and somebody would come in and loofah you.
Oh yeah.
But the best part of that was the Japanese hot bath, which was I think 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
What? That's too hot.
It's insanely hot. You get in for maybe 45 seconds.
I don't even know how you could get in there at all.
It just flays the skin off, and then you jump out
no, I
directly
was
into a
instantly
cold
like
pool.
that's just like I wouldn't even be able to get a toe into that water.
you don't get used to it,
That's
do you?
painful.
No, you don't. It's like you're in. It's as soon as it stops being painful, they're like, you need to get out,
Oh, God.
and then you jump into the cold, and it feels.
I
like,
would not. You would not get me in that.
It feels like the best thing ever.
I always feel bad. Like I always like to do the steam room or the sauna, but I
Yeah.
can never stay in one of those for more than like 2
I like
minutes.
a steam. A sauna, I can't do. It drives me out. But the
Yeah.
steam room's good.
Yeah.
Do you get the little branch and kind of whack yourself in the back?
No,
with
but
it?
I do like pouring
Russians?
the water onto the hot stones. That's always fun.
That is fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can just never stay in there for too long. It's too hot.
So Bath Bridge.
Right. So yes.
Thanks, Jerry. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah.
All right, kick
It's not
up
a
back
Gary
through the
podcast
layers.
Without that,
So I like a bath.
we've
And I like-
it is established.
And I like again, unlike a shower where you just get in and out, a shower is really just about getting clean.
Yeah.
A bath is also about getting clean, but it's more about relaxing. Like you stay in the bath and you just chill out,
Yeah.
right? You're not always like washing yourself. Sometimes you're just like,
It's nice. I take a Kindle in a Ziploc and
Right.
lay in the bath.
So what I do is I take my iPad and I watch Netflix.
Perfect.
And I watch Star Trek or whatever.
TOS or TNG?
TOS.
Okay.
And I used to slightly precariously balance the iPad on this shelf that we have above the bath.
Yeah.
But I never felt 100% comfortable with it. I'm constantly watching Star Trek in a slightly, low level sense of stress, like thing's going to topple into the bath, and I'm not going to be fast enough to
You're not
catch
getting
it.
the full effect of the bath.
I'm not getting the. Yeah, I'm supposed to be relaxing, and in fact, I'm worried about my iPad.
Right.
So something was not working, and so I started looking for one of those. I didn't even know if they made them anymore, but they had when I was a kid. You had them like the little. It was like a wire rack basically that just went across the center of the bath, and you put your soap and your rubber ducky and your towel, your face towel,
Your
thing
bubbles.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Mr. Bubble.
Your bath salt.
What we used to call matey, it's called Mr. Bubble. Here.
Okay. We get it.
And so I thought, well, I could get one of those. I could put the iPad on that. And so I started looking around for one. And my wife, who is tremendously thoughtful, heard that I wanted one of these. And she went to Brookstone and got me this really
Sounds
awesome one.
like the perfect place to get this kind of thing.
Yeah. I looked at Target and other. I could have gone to Bed Bath & Beyond, I guess, but I didn't. And I was looking for. I just wanted like a rack. But she found this really awesome one. So it's like all like wood, like bamboo quality. So it's like looks good.
Looks like it was made by a craftsman.
And the two sides slide out, so it fits any width of bath, which is great.
That's good.
And then you put it there, and here's the magical part, right? It's got a little adjustable wire frame thing that is a stand for your iPad.
That it locks into?
It
It's
locks
made
into-
for the iPad?
Yes.
Wow.
It's exactly the width of your iPad,
Mini or full?
full.
If you want...
You put your iPad there, and it's got different, elevation, so you can get it just how you want it. And it's even got a little slot for the stem of a wine glass.
Wow.
I don't drink wine, but I put Diet Coke in mine just because, whatever.
Get a Calgon take
and I
me
had,
away.
and then it's got a little extra area here for like whatever. So I put a tray of Oreos on it.
Perfect.
And so part of my Father's Day was spent in my deep bath.
You're like a Golga Frincham. You're just spending your
Yes.
days in the tub
Yes.
while you head to your new planet.
Yes, I'm in the bee
Gary
arc.
world. Yeah.
Yes.
Your Twitter pic did not use this device, though, right? It was on the edge of the tub.
No, it was there.
Was it in this new Brookstone?
Yeah, it
logo?
looks like it.
Yeah, that was the bridge. That was the whole
Wow.
point of it.
Okay.
I had my glass and my cookies and the iPad. And it's great because where I had it on the shelf before, it was like it wasn't reachable. Now you can have it like right up to where you are in your bath, and you
Yeah.
can like check your emails and stuff. It's brilliant.
Does it work with a wet finger? The iPad?
Yeah, the iPad works great with the wet finger.
Okay.
Yeah, you might want to dry it off occasionally because you don't want your screen to get too dribbly.
When I do bath time computing, I like to keep a towel. That
Do you
I
really
rest
put
my
a Kindle
head
in a
on.
Ziploc bag?
Hell yeah, it works. Well, so that works because you don't have sound coming from the Kindle. Like if you did that
Right.
with your iPad, the sound would be all jacked
But how
up.
does the picture through? Doesn't it get
It's fine.
distorted through the?
No, you get a clear Ziploc. You don't get one of those smoke. You don't put it in a freezer
I would just
bag.
trust myself to not drop it.
I used to, and then I like with the $79 Kindles, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
But once I upgeded to the $200
Just
one,
gonna stack a $79 Kindle.
yeah,
drop
I
one, just get the
use
next
those
one on the rack.
paperweights. Yeah, it's no big deal. It sinks, right? So you don't even lose your place. But the $200 one, I felt weird about taking in the bathtub.
Yeah.
So Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
You got to get the ones without the place to write on though, because if you have the
Oh, yeah,
freezer
yeah.
bag or the place to write on, it doesn't work too well. I thought this was going to be a short show because there wasn't that much to talk about this
Told
week.
you.
But guess who was wrong? Thanks for coming by these days, Gary. What's going on with you? Your book's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, it's coming out next week on Tuesday.
Ooh,
The digital version of
Hey,
it you'll be able to get on the 30th. The print version will be in the stores July 29th.
You and Apple both releasing things on Tuesday.
What's Apple releasing on Tuesday?
Apple Music launches.
Apple Music.
Oh, okay.
Is this it? The bamboo bathtub
Yes, that's it.
caddy? Yeah. Very
Yeah,
nice.
see that? So see that little slot there?
talking to the microphone.
That little slot there is where your wine glass goes. This little thing here, you can put soap or your iPhone or cookies, whatever.
Yeah.
And then this little thing here has got little notches in it, so you can adjust the elevation of the of the iPad.
Mhm.
If you like to bathe, I highly recommend it. See, they're using a book there, but it is in fact the exact width of an iPad.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Abomination, it's out soon.
Abomination is out next week.
Okay.
You can go to inkshares.com and pre-order it.
Can you get on Kindle and all the places?
Yeah,
you'd
if you
like to
go,
read
so the
books?
way that we're doing it is if you, even if you order the print version, you get the digital version thrown in for free, which
Oh,
I think is
nice.
how they should do it with all books. But if you just order the digital version, I guess this is how everyone does it. You get a Mobi
Mhm.
file, which is Kindle, and you also get an EPUB, which is for iBooks
and
and
everything
everything
else,
else.
Are
You get two versions
And
of the file.
the neat thing is, if you have the Mobi version, even with Kindle, you can email it to a special address that's an Amazon address, and then it'll just show up in your library.
Yes,
like a book you bought from Amazon.
or you can just plug your Kindle in with USB and drag it into the documents folder of your Kindle.
But if you do it across the email thing, then it'll be on like your phone and all the other places you might be. reading it as
okay. Well, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah. So highly
You
recommend.
just have to know your Kindle email
Yeah,
address.
you basically go to like manage my Kindle or something like
Yeah,
that, and you
and it-
set up an email address for your account
because
and
it's something
send
like
it to-
Gary's Kindle 73
Yeah,
at
that's
whatever.
Now,
Yeah.
last time you were on the show, I asked you about your audiobook plans. And
Yeah.
You said if you were funded, it would happen.
Oi!
Is it happening?
What's that?
That's I told you I wanted to be the audiobook reader. I've been working on accents.
No, I don't think you're the right. I think probably Greg Miller would be my go-to guy.
Oh, Greg,
His
now,
English accent is infallible.
I don't know about does infallible mean terrible?
Yes, it's awful.
Okay.
It's absolutely just monstrous.
Yeah, it's
Have you
worse
heard
than
him
mine.
do
Oh,
it?
it's worse than mine.
Oh, it's terrible.
Mine's bad.
It's terrible.
So what are the plans?
So the plans are, I have to figure out the plans.
All right.
It's really weird. We'll do it because you kind of have to do it. Like everyone,
Yeah.
all books have an audiobook. At
least everything worth speaking of.
It's the second most popular question I get asked after is there a Kindle version? Will there be an audiobook version? So you feel like you want to do it.
Yeah.
But then I spoke to people that are in publishing. They all said it's actually a tiny part of the market. Like 1% of book sales are audiobook.
Yeah.
But I just got myself an Audible account. Again,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm doing my little exercisey walk things,
Mm-hmm.
I got Audible so I could start listening to audiobooks. My first time actually ever listening to an audiobook, and I quite liked it.
Make sure you're downloading the highest quality version
Okay.
because that matters.
What do you mean?
Well, they used to hide the highest quality version. Now it's more accessible. But
You mean highest quality, like audio
audio quality?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're big files, but we got space.
So one of the things I realized, because I just finished Seven Eves, the Neil Stephenson book, which is highly recommended if you haven't read it yet. It's awesome.
As an audiobook?
So when I bought the digital book, I was enjoying it so much, and it said, hey, if you want to get the audiobook, you can get it for like $3 on top of the Kindle version.
Oh, okay.
And then it syncs. We've talked about this before, but like when I
Yeah,
put
even
down
syncs the audio
it
with
syncs
the page.
audio to where you are
That's
on
amazing.
the page, which is incredible because it means that like those books that you're enjoying so much that you don't want to put down when you have to like leave for work and drive to work in the morning, you can then fire it up. And now
But
the
Cam,
Audible
but do you
stuff
find-
lives
but-
inside the Kindle app.
But do you find that satisfying to jump back and forth between reading the book and having it read to you?
It depends on how good the reader is. So if the reader's no good, like if Greg Miller is reading the book, I don't want to do that.
Right.
But if I'm reading the book, I would totally do that.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Because it's your voice in
Yeah, it's
both
my
cases.
voice.
I've always
awesome.
had a weird snobbishness about audiobooks. I've talked about this with Veronica in the past because she reads a lot of books via audiobook. And I always feel like it's not quite, you're not ingesting it the same way than if you're actually reading
It's
it.
true, but storytelling is a verbal pastime before it was even a printed.
Well, like I said,
pastime.
I did one this way. I did the Alan Partridge autobiography that's read by Alan Partridge. And that was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I may get some more. I've got to find the right books.
The reader is everything.
Yeah.
In answer
it
to your
really
question,
is.
even though it's a small part of the market, there are people that want audiobooks. And so
And we'll pay for it. you
yeah,
know?
and the nature of my deal with the publisher was that I actually retain all the audiobook rights. So it's something I can do myself.
if you want to come over and read it yourself,
well,
for
I have
a little cut of that juice, I have all the stuff. at
No,
home to
that
set
will
you
never
up.
happen. Like, I don't even want to do like readings from the book. Like, it's just
You
horrible
hate
to
your own
imagine
voice?
that. I love the sound of my own voice, which
It's true.
should be obvious.
Well established.
But the idea of like me doing a dramatic reading of like I just couldn't do it. Like even when I'm reading like Three Little Pigs to my kid, I suck at it.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to do voices. It's the best part about
I've
reading
been
to your
doing,
kid.
yeah, I can't do that in a serious
You should hear
way.
me read Paddington. My
But I
Paddington
have
voice
I
is
have
amazing.
ideas for like I have ludicrously high above my station ideas for who I would want to read it.
David Attenborough,
Can't hurt to ask.
But I have
Jamie Lee Curtis.
because of the nature of my day job, I have ways into some
That's
to
true.
certain aspects of
you
this.
could, you could get Sam Jackson to read your book.
Well, it needs to be someone who can get a good English accent.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sam Jackson would read my book. I would totally just. It doesn't matter.
I guess
if he
I
did
would
the
probably
accent
just
or
like
not.
yeah, I was like yeah, like what yeah. I would
Right.
definitely want that version.
Yeah, I would listen to the Sam Jackson.
You know how
read
you
it.
can get like the Ice-T voice pack for Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Like I would want Sam.
No.
Like Sam Jackson would be DLC.
Yeah, yeah, or just have Sam Jackson voice one character maybe. Anyway, Jeremy Williams, what's going on with you? Where can people find you?
At Jareware on Twitter.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
What
all.
is going on
that's
with
all
you?
for now? I'm revamping the game frame.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I thought you were done with it.
I'm done with the last edition. Now I'm doing a revision.
Ooh, Game Frame 2.0.
Game frame 1.1. Yeah, but it's gonna.
So what does that mean? Does that mean it's going to go back on the market?
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be for sale where I won't run out.
People ask about it a lot. Like
Yeah.
people ask us, they always ask us, hey, what's that thing behind Norm on the set?
So
Yeah.
I had.
What's the nature of the revamp?
Well, it's all rethought. So it's all new circuit boards, different style of LED, but the same same numbers, same arrangement, same general style, just different chip inside of them.
The chips, like the availability of chips that are better connected and stuff like that is much better now, right?
Yeah, and it's a new frame. It's a new it's a 1 centimeter wide wooden frame, solid wood. It's stained and finished.
And are you still building them all yourself, or are you going to outsource this?
No, I'm having them built in Portland.
Oh, wow, made in
yeah.
America. I love it.
And fulfilled from there too, so it'll be very manageable.
How did that come about?
I just started looking around for partners, and the guy that I was working with to do some of the circuit board work knew this guy who does fulfillment and assembly in Portland, and it's great for us because I can take a train up there, drive up there if I need to, and
Yeah, that's way easier than go to China.
totally, and it's all domestic, so that's great.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
stamp made in America on that thing
Absolutely.
for sure.
Well,
they-
yeah, some of the parts are made in China, but that's just
Well, you can't help that.
by necessity.
Are you going to do, is it going to be like artisanal? Will we be able to choose different finishes? Will I be able to get walnut or
I'd love to do that.
found wood?
Not
or
at launch.
Found
wood.
Once we find out what the ongoing demand is, then I'll look into those kind
like
of options.
a reclaimed?
Yeah.
I'd like wood paneling from 1950s station wagons.
I'm very pleased with the look of the wood for
I
this,
can't wait to
for
see
this
it.
version. Yeah.
I'm excited. And people want to find out about that, they can ask you on Twitter.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be ready for a few months.
Okay.
Hang tight.
That'll do it for us today. Today's outro comes from Billy Ray Blackwood. Thank you guys for coming by. We'll see you all next week. And I think Norm will be back next week. So there we go. Here's the outro. Hi there. I didn't see you.
Why do you think about finding,
Use words.
I didn't listen to that one before.
I was like,
I
that's a
chose
good
it, but
one.
It worked out. Okay.
Okay.
See y'all next week.